And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What is going on? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Lair for a wonderful Friday night and a live stream. We are going to be doing a question and answer session tonight for you all. Now, I have some questions already sent in by some folks. They sent me some emails. Some people dropped it over on the Discord. If you haven't joined us over there, then there's a link down below to join us on the Discord. And I got 4 prepped questions, but tonight is basically for you guys. We're going to be answering questions. You drop some questions down. I'll do my best to answer them. That is pretty much how this goes around here. We will be hopping at least probably until 10 o'clock. Sometimes we go a little bit later if people are asking bunches of questions and whatnot. And we're going to be having a giveaway tonight as well. We'll be giving away some cool things. More information about that a little bit later in the stream. I'll go over all the details and stuff about that. The giveaway will only be open to those who are actually here in the live stream with us. So if you get us on the replay or something like that, then it's not going to be closed. In fact, what we did last time when we had a giveaway is we all entered it during the live stream, and then at the end of the live stream, we drew the winner, and the winner actually was here at the time. And so we were able to be like, what up, dude? Congratulations type of stuff. So there you go. That's what we got going on tonight. We're going to jump into our first question here. I did forget to pull up my comments, so I can't currently see any of the comments. So I'm going to pull that up right now. Pop out chat. That'll let me see who all is here, and we'll be able to give some what-ups to people and all that kind of awesome stuff. Let's see. Let's drag that bad boy over there. Woo! All right, let's give a roll call real quick before we jump in here. We have Krusty Utters. What up? Andreas. Hey, dude hedgehog. Welcome. We're just reading through the TS. That's an easy name to pronounce. Thanks, man. Krusty Utters apparently failed English. That's not cool, dude. You might want to work on that. My daughter just showed me her grades for that she has as of right now, and she's like me. She's like a nerd, so she gets crazy good grades. She had 103 or 104 or something in English class. So that's kind of crazy. Who else we got going on here? Seb Bro, what up? Kid Warbos and Philip. Good to see you again, Philip. Abomination 999. Ooh, Mr. Cool Kid. I thought for a minute there I thought it was Mr. Kobold, and I was gonna get all excited. I love kobolds. And who else we got going on over here? I'm just kind of reading through some people. Deceiver, what up? Joshua Solt in the house. Welcome, Josh. He's one of our sheriffs on the channel tonight. We should have another sheriff too. I believe Subcycle will be joining us to moderate the chat just in case people get out of control, because D&D is a pretty much out of control thing, right? And Merksman. I mean, it's going to take me forever to read through all these. The Blade of Grass. How is it going? Relatable Muncher. Jake Nellen, Superstar, Nick Williams, Robert, welcome. And did I Astral Flyer, Havoc Monkey? Dude, I'm not going to be able to keep up with this. People just keep joining. All right, I think I got through to most of them. So welcome, everybody. Let's get going here. We're going to talk about... Oh, and here's the other thing, too. If you're catching this on the replay, hopefully at some point, I will be able to, or some nice, kind person will put a list of all of the questions that we go over with timestamps, so we can so if you're catching on the replay, you can jump ahead to that. 4 questions I have prepared right now that we're going to go over. And if you have a question that you want to get answered, then you can drop me a hashtag question. There's instructions right over there about how to do that, so that it jumps and calls my attention and stuff like that. 4 questions we're talking about. Jay wants to know about how to keep track of things like initiative, how to keep track of monster hit points, and how to keep track of game notes. Now, I do have a couple. I'll show you how I do my initiative, how I track my initiative for my players, and I'll show you a little tip, a trick, or something like that to make hit point tracking much, much easier and faster. And another player sent me an email. I think it was an email. It might have been on Twitter. So basically, she has a player who is ill and might pass away. And so she's asking me what she should do as a dungeon master with regards to her game if her player does pass away. So it's a little bit more of a serious topic, right? But I want to touch on that because I think that's something that's important. Hopefully nobody has to deal with that. But if we do, then we'll talk about that. And we're going to talk about how to set up puzzles. Now, I'm not very good at puzzles, but the specific question had to do with how to make puzzles challenging enough, but not too challenging for your players. So we'll look at that. And finally, we're going to talk about a player who steals the spotlight all of the time, derails the game, and then when he does certain things that aren't good for the rest of the players or something, or the game as a whole, he uses the age-old excuse, "That's what my player would do." We're going to get into that, because that's one of those excuses that just makes me want to, like, you know... So, yeah, those are the questions we have for us. And as we're answering these questions, we're going to be popping over to your guys' questions. And that's what we'll be doing tonight. Got to get some coffee flowing through the veins. Woo! All right, let's talk about how to keep track of things. I want to show you first how I keep track of initiative in my games. So I've heard stories, like horror stories apparently, of people who, like, it takes them, like, keeping track of initiative is like this chore, this horrible, tedious process that's just, like, best avoided. And I'm not sure exactly how they're keeping track of it, because it's not that bad. Let me show you what I do. So first thing is I have a whiteboard. This is basically a whiteboard, and I have written on it in, this is wet erase, so it does not come off very easily. And it goes from 26 down to 0, all right? And I have this board, and then I have, this is magnetized, and the next thing that I have are you ready for it? This is going to blow your mind. Magnets! And the magnet has the name of one of my players on it, Dalinor. And Sebastian, he's very particular about being called Sebastian. So he actually is named after one of the villains in my game. The rest of the party is not quite certain whether Sebastian is one of the villains or not quite yet. That is to be revealed. Raku, Rudolph, Rosella, I don't know. We call this dude lots of different names in my games. Point is, magnetized strips. And so basically I tell everyone, roll initiative. And then I just simply look at the magnetized strips, and I'm going to see if I can get this to work where y'all can see this. So I'm like, Raku, he's like 14, boom. Sebastian, 2, boom. Dalinor, 23, boom. And then Rastalan. Now, here's something you should know about Rastalan. This player always rolls above a 20 on initiative. You figure that one out. And he's probably going to get like a 29 or something, and my board doesn't go that high, so I put him on 26. So it's boom, 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 really quick. I also create magnetized things for my monsters. Now, my monsters, I use a different color magnet, and so I usually have 2 or 3 different monster types. Each monster type gets its own initiative order in combat, and I'll just roll it up, and we'll put it there, and we'll put another one there, and then here's my initiative, and then here I'm tracking it. It's really fast, it's really simple, it is not complicated. And the other thing is that in my games, most of my games, we reroll initiative every round, just to make things more interesting, less stale. So if I don't have a system that is tight for tracking initiative and getting this all down, then our games are going to bog down really fast. I got these things at a teacher store. These little magnet things, there's like a local teacher store near me. You can get this kind of stuff. Whiteboards you can get wherever, Walmart, Meijer, whatever happens to be in the area you live in. Not that hard. All right, so that's how I track initiative. Bam. And I saw some people asking a bunch of questions. And the way the questions works, ladies and gentlemen, is I try to catch them all, but if I miss some and I'm not answering your question and you're like, Luke, you're ignoring me, it's probably because I missed it. So feel free to sensibly repost it, right? Don't start spamming us, otherwise, you know, Josh or what's his name, Subcycle is going to drop the hammer on you, right? So don't spam us, but if you got to repeat it because you're like, Luke didn't see me, he's blind, then you do what you got to do. All right, so the next part of the question that Jay wanted me to answer was how to keep track of hit points, ability scores for monsters, right? So if a monster has like spells he can cast, or the monster has hit points, obviously, how to keep track of that stuff. So I have a special little tip, a thing that I do that makes that really easy. What? Subcycle, you don't have the hammer? How do you not have the hammer? Dude, you totally have the hammer. Hold on, let me see if I can hook you up. Add moderator. Subcycle is now a moderator for your channel. Dude, you're hooked up. There you go. Rock and roll, buddy. All right, I swear I fixed that in the settings. I don't know what happened. Hold on a second. I probably didn't save it. Didn't save my work. Do you want to save your work? No, just close it. Don't worry about that. All right, keeping track of hit points. This makes things super fast. Now, if any of you guys, in some of my videos, I show screenshot or photos of my game sessions and my miniatures and stuff. And also, if you follow me on Instagram as well, you're going to see photos from my games. I'm just the DM Lair on Instagram. If you want to like follow me over there, that's cool. But I post pictures from my games over on Instagram as well, along with like a little tiny like summary or commentary on like what happened in the game session. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, that's over there. But this is the reason when you look at my photos, this is the point I'm getting at. The reason when you look at my photos, you often see dice on the board next to minis is I use those dice to represent how many hit points a monster has, how much damage a monster has taken. So if there is a mini on the board, a monster mini, not for the players keep track of their own hit points in their character sheets, but a monster mini, if it's on the board and it does not have a die next to it, then it means it's at full health. And what I do is once it starts taking damage, I estimate the amount of damage it's taken. And the way this works is if the 6, does it look like a 6 to you? That might look like a 6 wait, hold on a second. That looks like a 6. If the 6 is face up, that means the monster is dead. And so basically I estimate, right? So let's say that a monster has 30 hit points, okay? So basically if it takes 10 hit points of damage, I make the 2 go face up because it's about a third of the way dead. If it takes another 10 points of damage, up to 20 points of damage taken out of 30, then it goes up to a 4. That means that the thing is like heavily wounded. If it takes like say 5 points of damage, is almost dead, I'm going to increment the die to 5. And then it's like on death's door. And all my players know that when the dice is the whatever number is the highest on the sided die, that means it's dead. So for instance, if I have an enemy that is 100 hit points roughly, total hit points, then I do the same thing. I'll use a D10. And if it takes like 50 hit points of damage, it'll be at a 5. And then once if it gets to a 9, that means that it's almost dead. And so this is a way that I keep track of hit points on the board that makes it easier for me because I'm estimating it and just incrementing dice. And it also lets my players know how close to being dead a monster is. Now, this prevents all of the questions about how does he look like? Does he look damaged? Which one has already taken damage? I want to attack the one that looks like he's been attacked already. It prevents a whole slew of questions and makes combat go a lot faster. Now, the caveat to this is that I only use this for like normal goons or minions. I don't use this for like lieutenants or bosses. For lieutenants or bosses, I keep track of those hit points behind my screen on a piece of paper because for those, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more dramatic and intense. I want there to be some tension, you know what I mean? So those hit points I hide, but this is a technique I use for just normal run-of-the-mill guys you run into that you're not so concerned about hiding the hit points or anything like that. So that is what I do for checking hit points. As far as tracking spells and other abilities, I have like a piece of paper behind my DM screen. I just make little marks and stuff. It's not too hard. The other thing that I do too that helps me to track hit points a lot easier is I estimate. I always estimate. I never track specific hit points for a monster. If a player did 6 damage, I count it as 10. If a player did 3 damage, then I just don't count it. Okay. Now what this does is it averages out to be roughly the right amount of damage, but it makes things go so much faster, right? And it's just about gameplay. It's about speed of gameplay so that your combats don't take like 20 minutes to go one time around the table. Instead, we can get it down to maybe 5 to 10 minutes to go once around the table. An entire combat might take about 30 minutes instead of like much, much longer. So every little thing that you can shave off time in a combat is going to make things go so much more smoothly and not take like your entire game session to get through one combat, right? So some tips there. The other thing Jay was asking about was keeping notes for his games. Now, there's no secret to keeping notes for your games. Sorry, guys. I'm going to show you what I do to keep track of my games, the notes for my games. This is just brute force taking notes and writing stuff down, unless you have a good memory. And my memory is horrible, so I write everything down. This is a look at OneNote. This is where I keep track of all my notes for all my games. My iPad goes with me to all my games, and so I can take notes as things are going on if I need to. After a game session, before a game session begins, I have session start notes. I know day of the month it is. I know the time of the day it was when we last played. I know like some major notes about what's going on. And I have here some plans for what's going to go on in the adventure. At the end of the game session, I take notes here. Whoops, I just italicized that. And I have other places, like here I'm keeping track of some property they had. They have an inn that they own. And so I have notes about that. I have notes about the employees there. They went out and hired all these employees. And so I took notes on it about who they are. They had some lizard folk warriors at one point that were allied with them. So I keep track of all of these things. You know, there's no shortcut. It's just taking notes. And you do as many or as few or as many as you need for you to keep track of your games. So there you go. No shortcut. I think I have satisfied Jay's question, hopefully. I'm going to go into the chat. I have a bunch of, I have some more ones that I wanted to get to as well because people emailed them to me. But you all are here live. So let's take a look at some questions. I'm going to spin back a little bit and see if I can find a question here. Dun, 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 dun. Hedgehog said, can you give us out a few tips for Tome of Annihilation? Or Tomb of Annihilation. Got to work on my pronunciation. I've never run it before. I've heard it's really cool. A tip for it would be to give it a try if you think it sounds cool. I know. If you're running it and you have a specific question about Tomb of Annihilation that you would like me to weigh in on, then please follow up with a clarification comment, Hedgehog, because that's a very vague question. And let's see what else we got going on here. The Blade of Grass 212 says, how can I locate other D&D people? Like, where do I go to play with others and start D&D? Okay, so this is a question I see all the time. The Discord, comments on my channel and stuff like that. I will tell you that there are two ways that I personally have had lots of success finding people to play with, okay? Obviously, there's the age-old maxim, go find your friends, play with your friends. That's useful if, one, you have friends to play with, and when I first started getting into 5th edition, I didn't have any friends to play with. I mean, did I have friends? Oh, this is sad. I might have had friends. But the point is that I either didn't have any or they didn't want to play D&D. And so I had to go find people I didn't know to play D&D. And the two ways that I had good success doing it were the LFG subreddit over on Reddit. It's just like /LFG. And I found tons of people local to me here where I live in Michigan that could play D&D. Had good success doing that. And the other thing that worked really well for me is just going to a game shop and hanging up a little sign that said, Dungeon Master looking for players. And then I give my email and people email me, and really quickly I put together groups. So other ways I've not used, now these are for me as a Dungeon Master looking for players. As a player, you could still go to the LFG and look for games listed in Reddit, the subreddit LFG. You could go to your local game shops and see if anybody else has hung up a poster. You could put up a poster saying player looking for a game or something. So that's legitimate too. You could, if you want to play online, Roll20, I believe, has forums where they post people looking for games. I know that it looks like folks over on my Discord now are like trying to find games and stuff. We have like a little channel set aside for people looking for games. So there hasn't been a ton of activity there as of yet. So I don't think that's probably the best place to go, but that exists. Other places, I don't know. Some people throw down in the comments in the chat here for this buddy. What are things you guys recommend to find games? I made an entire video on finding players as well. It's pretty old, so it's kind of probably a ways through my catalog, but it is out there. So there's an answer. Another Patheron says, how would you recommend running psychological warfare for an illusionist wizard? I have no idea, dude. I'm sorry, I have no idea. Can you clarify what you mean by that? See, I have to buy myself time. I'm like, what does that mean? $5 super chat from somebody. Who'd that come from? X-Deceiver. All right. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Boom. Fist bump. He says, loving your templates. Have some compensation. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. That is always appreciated around here. Throwing the dollars down. All right. Other questions. Dun, dun, dun. Question from TS. He says, I just started running Legendary Minds of Phandelver. I think I pronounced that correctly. For a long time, I could not pronounce that word. I'm like, Phandelver? Anyway, I got it. and accidentally TPK'd the whole party within the first encounter. Just wondering if I did something wrong. I don't know. Were they level 1? Because I'll tell you what, in 5th edition, level 1 characters are squishy. Like, what do they got? 8 hit points? Maybe 10 or something? I mean, they can run into, like, a couple goblins could kill them with just luck of dice, right? Until characters in 5th edition get to be around 3rd level or so, they're really fragile, and they could die fairly easily. So, did you do something wrong? I don't know. I don't know the entire situation. Your players could have messed up. They could have made a bad decision. They could have gone against something. You're also running a module, right? I think when we're running a module, the Dungeon Master oftentimes trusts the people who created the module that they didn't create encounters that are overwhelmingly powerful and would like kill our players. And so there's always a possibility that you were just faithfully following the module, trusting them, and they had an encounter that was really hard and you didn't realize it, and then things, bam, went bad. So I don't know. I would not, here's the thing, even if you did do something wrong, if you analyze it and think about it and decide, you know what, I screwed up, that's okay, dude. That is okay. Screwing up and then learning from those screw-ups is the principal way that we become better at anything in life, okay? I was going to say at being a dungeon master, but that applies to everything in life. If you learn from it, right, and become a better person or a better dungeon master as a result, then I wouldn't dwell on it, and I wouldn't consider it a mistake. I would consider it a learning lesson or something like that. That's like how people like phrase it and whatnot. But it's true, right? If you learn from it and you become better as a result, then I wouldn't sweat it and I wouldn't worry about it, you know. But if you do feel you screwed up, then, you know, you can talk to your players about it or something if you want to, and just be like, hey guys, you know, I really screwed this up and I feel bad. And as a group, you can discuss where you go from there. There's nothing wrong with that. I've screwed up with my players before, and I've told them, hey guys, I screwed up. You know, this is how this should have been, blah, 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 whatever. And we talk about it. We have a conversation about it, you know. So that is a legitimate path to travel as well. Dun, dun, dun. I'm looking for, remember, if you want me to answer your question, it needs to stand out to me. It needs to have like hashtag question in all caps, because I'm blind and there's lots of chat that I have to wade through, you know, to get the questions. So try to keep them succinct as well. I should mention this. Keep your questions succinct. If there's a wall of text, then my eyes like roll back into my head and I'm just like, and I probably am not going to read it. Just being honest with you. Let's see. Question. Brett Felt says, what is your favorite and least favorite reoccurring villain archetype? The intellectual manipulator, the unkillable powerhouse, the unassuming traitor, etc. Okay, so that's cool. I think the unassuming, I'm just gonna give general commentary on these, and then we will decide if I have a favorite and least favorite. You put the unassuming traitor. I think that an unassuming traitor can work about once in your campaign, right? And to good effect. The second time you do it, every time you have somebody that gains the confidence of your players' characters and then betrays them, your characters will become more and more suspicious of every single NPC in the game to the point where they don't trust anybody. So I think that is a path you want to tread carefully, right? Do it maybe once and be like, oh, I gotcha, it's cool, but I would tread that carefully. So, but it can be very memorable and very fun, I think. So I would not say that's my least favorite. I think it's just one to be dealt with carefully. The unkillable powerhouse. I don't like that. I think my gut reaction to the unkillable powerhouse is, why is it unkillable? So the players are going to fight it and they can't kill it, or it escapes and then it comes back and gets them again, and they have this like frustrating experience where they can't kill it. I think what I'm talking myself into is that I don't like that because it could become frustrating for your players. If they feel that there's nothing they could do against it, it's just like, we're helpless, we can't do anything. I don't know how good of a game experience that would be for players. And so that's why I'm kind of ranking that one down lower as I look at it. The intellectual manipulator, I think that could be fun. That could be very fun to implement that and to trick your players into doing things that they're like, oh, we're helping out these people do X thing. It's a good thing, right? But it's actually the bad guy somehow manipulating them, and doing that X thing is helping him somehow in his schemes. And then later on, they find out that they were doing things to help the bad guy or something, and that could be just kind of like this, where your players are like, that's bullcrap, and then they're get all riled up and they go get revenge and stuff. So there could be some good fun to be had there. So I like that one. There we go. You gave me 3 examples. I talked about the 3 examples. I know there are different types of villains out there. Let's see. Dun 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 dun. Darth says, how do you make reasons for characters not being there? I don't. I do not. I hand wave it. If a player cannot be at the game session and his character, so if one of my players cannot be at the game session, I take his character sheet and I hold it up and I say, who wants to run this character today? And then one of my other players plays that character for him. And so the characters are always all there, right? I never have to worry about a character not being there. If a player can't make it, then somebody else plays his character. Now, this is an agreement that my players and I have talked about and decided upon. Okay? I want to be clear, because sometimes it's possible your players in your group may not feel comfortable with that, and you don't want to have somebody else run your character. If that's the case and you guys don't want to do that, that's perfectly legitimate, right? What I would suggest in that case is you don't worry about where that character went to. You're going to rack your brain, wasting your creativity on thinking of some story reason about why a player had a real-life conflict with your game session. I don't think it's worth your time as a dungeon master. My opinion, right? If you think a story reason is needed, I would put that on your player who missed the game session. And then he can, when he returns, explain where his character went and what he was doing, just for flavor purposes to help explain the story. That's one way to do it. Now, I do know that in one of my games, I have a very, very convenient way to explain a character's act. Actually, I should say that in 3 of my games, the characters never disappear. In one of the games that I run, when a player doesn't make it, the characters do disappear. Okay, so that is one game that I run a little bit differently. I should clarify that. The way I do it there is, in that game, they were all pandas, like walking, talking panda people that came from a different reality. They were somehow teleported into the current reality, a different world. And when a player can't make it, I've kind of established that this teleporting thing of their world, kind of people from it being teleported into the current world, is happening. And so when a player can't make it, there's basically this thing where like one of the characters like fluctuates out of reality and is temporarily teleported back to his actual home world. And then when the player comes back again, boom, he's teleported back. So in that case, I do have a story reason that explains it, but it's only because it conveniently fits in with the plot that's already happening in the campaign. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother with it. That's my answer to that. That may be unsatisfying for some of you who place story as a very high priority. In which case, then it might be worth it to you and your players to actually think about reasons. There's nothing wrong with that. That's totally legitimate. It's just not the way I do it. And it's my opinion. This is the way I do it. So anyway, that's that. Let's move on. Let's keep going. I should answer one of my other ones that I have here. All right, next question. All right, dismiss that. Next question is, let's talk about how to set up puzzles. So the dude asked me, basically the gist of his question, he wasn't really asking how to design puzzles, because if you were, then I would not have any good advice for him, because I'm bad. In my opinion, I'm bad at designing puzzles. So I usually just find them off Google or something, or I make a bad puzzle. I actually don't have too many puzzles in my game because I'm just bad at it. But what I generally do, his question was, when you're designing a puzzle, how do you make sure that your puzzle is not too easy for your players? It isn't too hard for your players, but it's just right. How do you do that for your puzzle? And the answer to that, the behind the scenes answer that some of you might not like, is that you decide on a solution for your puzzle, but if needed, you adjust it on the fly. That is, as your players, let's say that there's one solution here, and your players are trying to get to that solution, and they just can't figure it out. Now, here's the thing. When you're running a puzzle, you usually have players talking back and forth. All of them are offering ideas and suggestions about things they can try. And if they're going for, I don't know how long it would drag on. If you have a puzzle situation going on for 10 to 15 minutes, that might be a long enough time to move on. It depends. Gauge your characters, see if they're losing interest. If phones start coming out and they're just like whatever on their phones, then you know they're losing interest in the puzzle, at which point it's probably time to move on in the game. And at that point, instead of having this be the only answer that there ever was, one of these ideas that they had, and then they try, have that be the answer. It's as simple as that. That way, what you're doing is you're cultivating the game experience. You are presenting them with an interesting, fun thing, a puzzle, and they're going to work at trying to solve it. And if they're not getting the right answer, once you see that their interest starts to wane and they're drifting and they're like, okay, we're totally done with this stupid puzzle, that's when you have there be an answer so they can solve it and then they can move on. Okay, it's not about getting the right answer. It's about cultivating an environment for your players where they're enjoying themselves and having fun. That's at least for me as a game master, dungeon master, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to present a game where they're all having fun, and so I keep an eye on that sort of thing. So that's how I deal with puzzles. The other thing that I sometimes do for puzzles, this is even a step further, is I don't even make up an answer for the puzzle. I just create the puzzle and I don't even think of a solution. And then as the players are like brainstorming solutions, I just pick one. And that's the solution to the puzzle. And when they try that one, it works. So that's another thing I do. This is all stuff behind the screen, and if you do these things, don't tell your players, because it ruins their sense of like, we found the answer. We've defeated that puzzle. If they know that you just picked one of their ideas, then it ruins that experience for them. So I would definitely not tell your players about this. There's lots of things as a dungeon master that you do to, wow, see my cat? I just go crazy over there. There's lots of things you do as a dungeon master behind the screen to improve the game experience for your players that you don't tell them about that stuff, because then it ruins the game experience for them. That's Squirty Pie. She must see like a chipmunk or a squirrel out there, so she's going nuts on me. All right. So that was the puzzle question. Awesome. Puzzle question. I gotta check that bad boy off. Question, I'm like kind of way up in here, but Trustin Keller says, how do you handle players wanting to attain pets or companions that are not domestic in any way? That's interesting. I usually tend to work with the player on something like that, because I feel like that is just it's a fun game element, like if there's a squirrel that they want to have be their pet or companion. Now, if it's not domesticated, it's probably not going to be your pet. It might be your companion. It might hang out with you. But if you don't treat it properly, if you don't keep it fed and whatnot, it's probably not going to stick around with you. So what I would generally tend to do is, if I can tell that I have a player that's all like, oh, the cute little squirrel, or like, oh, it's a panther, oh, it's so cute, or something, whatever. That's usually how it goes. Usually it's because they think it's cute or it's adorable or something, and they'll want to have it as like a companion. And so, I would work with them. Okay, roll an animal handling check to see if you can calm it down or something, and then get a little bit closer, and if the players are smart and they do stuff like pull out like food rations and stuff like that to feed to the animal, well, then the animal is they might have advantage on their animal handling check against that animal, and so it might be a series of time, where they try to like, have a companion for the animal. But I usually try to work with them, and in all honesty, like most animals that you might try to become companions with, or even if it's like a panther or something, the challenge rating on that is so low that like only at like first or second level is that panther actually going to make a big difference in any combat. So I'm not really worried about balance for like animal companion type stuff like that. And at higher levels, there's no worry at all, because at higher levels, if they have their panther companion going into combat, it's going to die pretty quickly because it has no hit points and stuff. So that's how I would handle that. Now, if you're talking about actually having companions that scale up with your players and get more powerful, more hit points and stuff, then you're opening up a whole other can of worms. And then you, as a dungeon master, I would be thinking about game balance and how does this affect game balance and that sort of thing. And so that is a much bigger question, probably way out of the scope of what I can even explain. Unless I take up the whole 2 hours and like let's deep dive into the game balance, but we're not going to do that. All right, Beta King says, I homebrew a lot in my games, and every now and then one player mentions to me that they feel that the games are unbalanced. Do you have any tips on how to make everyone happy? Well, it depends on the specifics, right? Like, how, in what way do they feel the game is unbalanced? Do they feel like their character is not very strong and some of the other characters are much stronger, and so they like steal the spotlight or something like that? So in that case, it might just be a part of it. Honestly, part of it is that's some classes are just much more powerful. If you take a paladin, especially at the later levels, is leaps and bounds more powerful than a lot of the other characters, right? So it's how you handle that is gonna depend on the specific circumstances. If you leave a follow-up with more details, I can probably help you address that. But I don't think there's not like a pat answer to that. It depends on the situation, the specific situation, and how I would address it. Let me see what we got going on here. Mr. Cool Kid, can I just call you Mr. Kobold? Like, seriously, I just want to call you Mr. Kobold. Oh, Hedgehog says amazing mug. Oh yeah, I used to live in Honduras, actually, in South America. I'm a moron. Central America. I lived there for 4 years and I don't even know where it is. But this came from, I think did my mom get this? I think my mom might have gotten this for me or whatever. So there you go. Fun fact about me. Anyway, Mr. Cool Kid was asking a question. Mr. Kobold was asking a question. He said, that's a distraction for you folks. You got to get used to that. Totally get distracted by everything around here. I'm doing an online D&D thing, and the first session is making characters. And how do you think they will react to the fact that I already made a character and 2 backups? So I'm assuming you're a player. If you're a player, I'm going to take that in context that you're a player. I don't know. I would just make a character. If they're making characters in the first session and you've already made your character, then just chill or something and just be patient and don't pressure people to get the game going because you kind of skipped ahead and did stuff ahead of time. I don't know how they're going to react. I mean, I recently did a session 0 for a Dragon Heist game that I'm starting up, literally just started up last week, and almost all of my players had already I told them in the first session, we're creating characters. We're literally at the table going to create characters together. And all of them except, I think every single one of them showed up with their character almost completely done. One of them had quite a bit more work to do than the others. And so we were waiting for him patiently because I told everybody to, we're making characters together, and they all came done, and this guy still had work to do. And so, you know what, we're going to wait for the dude because that's what we said we were going to do. And so, I mean, I didn't get upset about it. I'm just they're excited. Dude, they want to play the game. They're thinking about their character. They can't wait until session 0. They want to make their character. I'm not going to hold that against them. So I have no idea how your folks are going to react, dude. Hopefully they're cool about it. I'm cool about it, but I'm not your dungeon master. All right. Oh, I see Subcycles. He's got the blue moderator stuff going on. So Subcycle is in the house with the moderation. He's one of our sheriffs. All right. What do we got going on here? More questions. Oscar Hernandez says, have you used underwater combat? I have had portions of dungeons that were underwater, yes. And my players who could not really operate efficiently underwater have had to go underwater to do things. So yes, I have done that. Is that the entirety of the question? Are you asking for tips on it? I mean, I just run it from the rules in the player handbook. There are certain weapons where you get disadvantage when you attack underwater. If you don't have a swim speed, moving underwater is counted as difficult terrain, so you're going to move at half speed. However, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is very, very nice with regard to how long you can hold your breath. You can hold your breath for a long time. So you usually don't have to worry about, well, it depends. You might have to, but anyway, it's not that bad. Philip says, have you ever played Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay? No, I have not. Darth Gavinus Builds and More says, how deal with player absences and their characters? I answered that already. So we're moving on. And Gavin Myers says, how would you make a good Hexblade backstory while not having a magic item at the beginning of the game? I don't know. I would think about it. I don't have a good answer for you, man. I would just think creatively about it. Maybe it was stolen from him. Maybe he trained with a Hexblade, or he trained and became a Hexblade, and he had maybe it's part of his backstory. He had a magical sword or something passed down through his family, and it was stolen from him during his training, and now he wants to get it back or something. I don't know. I mean, that's just an example. I would think of some creative thing that would satisfy your desire to have something and how to deal with it, because if you don't have it, you don't have it. And if I had a Hexblade starting out in my game, he wouldn't have a magic item either. He'd have to deal with it. So that's my thoughts on that. And there's an example for you. So, what else we got going on here? We should... Oh, another super chat from the Exalted One. Thank you, dude, for the $5. I appreciate it. And he has a question, so we should answer his question. What's your opinion on players needing to keep track of ammo? That is, go and retrieve their arrows after a fight. I think it depends. Dramatic pause. So basically, in most of my games, I don't bother with tracking ammo. And the reason basically is that it's not extremely fun to do so. And I'm not going to be sitting there like, do you have enough arrows to shoot? So I kind of just don't worry about it. And my players are in town often enough. Like, they're traveling through different towns and stuff, major towns that are going to have arrows, that they're going to pick up arrows if they need some. And we just hand wave it and say, you guys are adventurers, you're going to stock up enough arrows, you're going to retrieve. I mean, when you shoot an arrow in a fight, there's a 50% chance that it's broken, 50% chance that it's reusable. We're just going to assume that you guys take enough arrows with you to last you and that you restock. That way we don't have to do, like, munchkin, inventory management and stuff like that. And so that's how I handle it in most of my games. I think I hand wave it in all of my games, perhaps. However, let me say this. If I were running a survival type game, or if I were running a game like Curse of Strahd, which is supposed to be a little bit grittier, a little bit more challenging, and you're like in a different world, like the Barovia, where there might not be access to some of these things as easily as like in a populated area like Waterdeep, where I run most of my games. If I were running a game like that, then I would absolutely be like telling my players to keep track of the arrows you use and your hand axes and rations perhaps and stuff like that. Now, I would tell my players that, but here's the thing. I would then make it be a thing that they keep track of. In other words, I'm trusting you guys to keep track of it and to be honest about it. I am not, as a dungeon master, going to be reviewing character sheets and inventories to see if you have used the proper number of rations or if you've actually run out of ammo. I think that is just... It feels a little silly. Like, I'm an adult, my players are adults, and that seems like, a mom, like, checking her 5-year-old to make sure that he brushed his teeth or something. I just don't think that is something that I would ever do to my players. I don't know, that's just my thoughts. So I would probably tell them we're going to keep track of it and enforce it, but it's an honor system. It's up to you to do it. It's part of role-playing. This is what we're going for in this type of game. It's a little grittier. It's a little more realistic. So it's part of role-playing to keep track of that stuff. So that's what I would tell them if I were doing it that way. So there you go. I hope that helps you out, buddy. I should actually... That's interesting because that... Oh, see, the super chats are hiding from me. Like, you sent me another one for a couple bucks. Thank you. Appreciate that. And I didn't see it for some reasons, but I see it now. He says, Exalted One says, what's your nationality? You have a great dungeon mastering voice. I am American. I grew up in Michigan, United States, and that is my nationality. So there you go. Thank you, sir. I have a great voice. I like that. I see some more questions here too. I'm gonna do some scrolly stuff. Sorry, I want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Guys are like, we keep throwing money at him, but he won't answer our questions. What kind of a person is this? Oh, I did. Oh, I got that one. Deceiver, I got yours. Okay, cool. Let's find some more questions. Let's look at some more questions. I did the puzzle one. Oh, you know what? Let me answer a couple more questions from the stream, and then we are going to answer that question I told you about. How do you deal with a player who passes away? Not with the player, but how do you deal with the game, right? Does the game go on? And how can it go on if one of your players like literally passes away? We're going to talk about that in a little bit here, because I think that is a very... Hopefully nobody has to deal with that, right? But if you do, we'll talk about that. I see tons of questions. And I'm sure I'm missing tons of them, and I apologize for that. I do. I'm doing my best here. I'm just one man. It's a one-man show. Let's see here. You know what my moderators could do, if you feel so inclined, if you're able to, over in like one of our chat channels on the Discord, if you some of these questions that you think are particularly interesting, if you want to throw them at me in the Sheriff Lounge, that way what do you want to call it? I'll see them. But not every single one. It's like Subcycle, if you happen to see one that you think is like, oh, this is a good question, make sure we answer this one, throw that to me in the Sheriff Lounge, if you will. Josh, I know that you're at you're at work right now, so you probably might not be able to do that. But anyway. All right, so questions. Cheddar Monkey. I love that. Cheddar Monkey. That's like, I want to eat some like Cheez-Its or something, you know? Throw me a name like that, man. I'll give you guys my P.O. box if you want to mail me some Cheez-Its. No, don't do that. I'm like, I don't check it like too often, so I can just imagine like I show up to check it and there's like a special bin and there's like tons of Cheez-Its and other like cheddar snacks that are like molded and stuff. Anyway, he had a question. I promise you I will get to your question. Here we go. Let's do it. Have you ever had a group you couldn't mesh with? A group. I don't think that I've ever played an entire group I couldn't mesh with. I definitely have been a player in a game, and I did not mesh with another one of the players, who later became the Dungeon Master. It was just like, I think our personalities or something, I don't know how to describe it. He did not seem to me to be a very nice human being, and I did not like him very much. He's the type of person that, like, the game brought us together, but, like, minus the game, I would probably not want to be anywhere near him. And so, but that's not the group, that's just a person, you know? It happens to everybody. Nobody's ever going to get along with everyone, right? You'd have to be, like, totally lame vanilla, no opinions, no personality whatsoever to, like, get along with everyone, I think. So it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. And I had a player once that, like, I didn't quite mesh with him. It wasn't like a game breaker to me. Like the Dungeon Master who I didn't mesh with, that was a game breaker for me. That was a problem, right? And I eventually stopped playing with that group because of that person that I just didn't mesh with. But I had a player once who I didn't mesh with him necessarily. I didn't really dislike him, but there was something there. I think it was probably he was a little bit of a rules lawyer type, and that kind of, and he would argue with me in games about things, and I can put up with a whole lot of stuff, right? But for whatever reason, like, arguing about rules in a game, just like, why do we got to go there? Can't we just, like, play the game and have fun? There's nothing that makes a game, like the atmosphere of a game, just have tension and hostility, like arguing over stupid rules. Like, who cares? I'm your dungeon master. I have your best wishes in mind. I'm here to create a fun game for you. I'm not here to screw you over, right? So, like, just loosen up with the rules. Let me take care of the rules. And for the record, I am a rules guy. I follow the rules most of the time, all the time, most of the time. So I'm definitely not one of the DMs who's just like, forget the rules at all. But I just don't like arguing about them. I think it is unproductive. I don't think anything really good comes of it. Most of the time, you just have people's feelings get riled up, you know, and then the next thing you know, you spent 30 minutes arguing about a rule, and nobody's been having fun, and that just seems lame to me, so I don't like that. I think I answered your question, sort of. We're going to do one more question. We're going to go with Jake Nan. He says, wow. Oh, sorry, Jake. I'm going to jump to Jared Murphy real quick. He has a question right above yours. He says, Ghosts of Saltmarsh is basically here. Are you all excited at all? Yeah, I am. I'm excited about it. I don't know anything about it. Yeah, I have it on pre-order at one of my local game stores. And supposedly, when you pre-order one of their Wizards books or whatever, game stores usually get it like a week and a half early, so you can get the copy before it's out on like Amazon and stuff like that. For whatever reason, 2 of the local game stores have not gotten it in yet. And I'm like, you guys, I'm thinking, I need this book. I want to get this book because I'm planning on doing a video reviewing it for you all. And I was planning on doing the filming of that video like this week so that I could get that video out to all folks who might be interested in purchasing it so you could have some information about it and whatnot. And like these dudes are they're not getting it in until like everybody else has it. And it's like, at that point I'm just like, why am I pre-ordering it if you're not going to get the stinking book ahead of time? It's like I can spend $30 on Amazon for the book or $50, from you guys. If I'm going to spend a little bit more, then like getting it early would be kind of cool, But there's also I think it has an alternate cover, which I'm interested in just because like I think you can only get the alternate cover if you pre-order it. And so that's another perk, I think, of the pre-order. Anyway, I had to go there because I'm perturbed. I can't get my hands on this book because I want to review it. And it looks pretty cool. All right, so Jake Nan had a question, and we're going to take a look at his question in a second. Dun, 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 dun. Where's the question from Jake? He says, in terms of keeping your players invested, what do you do? I remember you made a video about making combat faster and noticed that you have some good music and different voices. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things about keeping players invested. I mean, so to be fair, I mean, I do have players that leave the group from time to time. They just lose interest. That's life. I mean, it happens. Even you could be the best DM in the world and you can have players who are just like, Luke, I've been playing in your game for 3 years and I'm just ready to move on. I've had lots of fun and I'm just ready to move on in my life. It happens, So it's not like all my players never leave or anything. Let's be honest, right? But I do have some thoughts on how to keep them invested. I think one of the things to do to keep them invested is it's pretty simple in that you want them to be having fun, right? If they're having fun and they're interested in the game and they're not all on their phones staring at their phones, then, that's a good first step, right? So you want to know your players and you want to know what they consider to be fun about the game. I mean, do they love combat and dungeon crawls and stuff? Do they love social interactions, role-playing, and whatnot? Do they love it when you take stuff from their backstories, pull it into the game, and give them special adventures to go on, right? I have definitely found that doing special voices keeps players entertained and interesting more than not, right? So I go out of my way to do voices and stuff like that, okay? So I think these are all things. I think part of it too is like keeping them invested is having open conversations with them about things. Like if you messed up about something or there's something you want to talk about, being able to have that discourse with them. Another thing I do is, man, this cat's going nuts. Squirty Pie is my cat's name. My cat's name is Squirty Pie. She's just going crazy. So, for instance, I might want to do something in the game. I might want to introduce a house rule on something. I don't just say, all right, guys, this is how it's going to be. We're going to start doing this from now on. Almost always, I have a conversation with my players. I explain to them, hey, guys, I'm thinking about doing this. This is why I want to do it. What do you guys think? And then we talk about it. Okay? And usually, it's always, I would like to try this out. And if we all think this sucks, then we'll go back to the way we did it before. Right? Because I want to make sure everybody's having fun and enjoying ourselves. And so I think having if you're a dungeon master, your focus is on everybody at the game table having fun and enjoying themselves, and then doing all of those things that get you there. I think that is what is going to be most effective at keeping your players invested. So that's very insubstantial. That's not like a practical do this, do that maybe answer, but hopefully that's helpful. All right, looking for questions. I was going to answer another question. I'm going to answer my question about a player passing away. Somebody's messaging me in the live stream. Who's messaging me in the live stream? John, why are you messaging me in the live stream, dude? John, he says we have 97? We have 97 on the live stream? Are you serious? Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. We have 97 in the live stream. That's pretty cool. We got to break 100. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we need to break 100. What I need you to do is get on the social media, Twitter, and wherever else you hang out. Let your friends know. Come join us. We're going to have a hopping stream. We're breaking 100. Oh, we just lost one. We're down to 96. Oh, depression, anxiety. All right, I wanted to answer this question for you all, and then we'll get back to some more of your guys' questions. So how do you deal with a player passing away in your game? So this, I think it was a lady who sent me this. And it's one of those, I think it was on Twitter, and it's one of those tweets that you get and you're just like, oh, dude, that sucks, man. How do you even address that? So I think after I was thinking about it, my suggestion would be, like, if ultimately she does pass away, I would consider, what would she want the gaming group to do? So let's just say her name is, can we give her a name? Maybe we should give her a name. I don't know. Let's just say that, like, you guys were all together in a gaming group. You were having fun. You were having a blast, right? She gets sick and she passes away. I would try to think about what she would want us to do. What would be her wishes? If you can clarify those wishes, those desires before she passes, that's ideal, but that's kind of an awkward situation possibly, so that might not happen. But I would try to think about, like, what would she want you to do? Would she want you to continue playing together because she knows how much fun you had and that it brought your group of friends together and, like, made your relationship stronger? Would she want you to continue that without her? Or would she want you to stop playing and stop doing the thing that brought you together as a friend group? I'm just spitballing here. If it were me and I'm the one that passed away, then I would absolutely want my players to stay together and keep playing. I'd want one of them to be like, I'm the dungeon master. I'm going to fill Luke's shoes, and keep playing. I would so want them to do that. I wouldn't want their fun to end just because I was no longer there. So that's kind of how I'm thinking through that question. I would consider playing onward in loving memory of your friend who passes away, and have that be a new thing that unites the group together. That's my thoughts on it. I would definitely take whatever time you need, right, after she passes, to do what you got to do. But my suggestion, it would be to consider doing that. So those are my thoughts on that really rough, difficult situation. So it's possible, that it's hard to keep on playing, and if you can't, and if the group just can't, then because that's an impactful thing when one of your friends that you're here, because how much time do we spend with the people we play D&D with? If a lot of us spend about 4 to 6 hours playing Dungeons and Dragons with this group of friends, and it might be once a week or twice a week or something. And so there are really strong friendships and relationships that result from that. And so a death of a friend like that can be very impactful. So those are my thoughts on that. I hope that's helpful. I really sympathize with that situation. That's not fun to be in that. That sucks. Yeah. Dude, John keeps sending me messages. What are you doing, buddy? You got to turn my volume down so it's not patinging. Okay, he says 101. We did it. You should also mute Messenger during live stream. All right, John, you got it. Well, just stop sending me messages, dude, and then I won't have to mute it. John, he works with me at the company where I work. He and I sit next to each other, and, like, we talk about Dungeons and Dragons probably more than we should. We should probably be working a little bit more, but that's just the way that goes. So, for all of you folks who are, dude, okay, now I'm actually going to mute it. Now I'm actually muting it, John, because you keep sending me messages. For those of you who are just joining the stream, hopping in on the action, we are doing a giveaway tonight. And if you're here, then you can get in on the giveaway. I should talk about the giveaway. Let us tease the giveaway. We're not doing the giveaway, but we're going to tease it a little bit. What you will be winning for the giveaway, there will be one winner of the giveaway, and you will be winning, let me see if I can hold these up. You're going to be winning some tokens. These are things that you can use in place of miniatures. So, miniatures could be kind of expensive for you. Miniatures often range between $3 is a really cheap miniature, like a Reaper's Bones or something. The very cheapest is about $3 you can get. They can range up to $5, $8, $10 for one miniature. And so these tokens here, and I don't know if this is going to focus very well. I'm going to try to hold some of these up so you can kind of get an idea of the size of them. But I'm going to be giving away a bunch of these tokens to, and it won't focus on it because it's focusing on my face. So I'm going to be giving away a bunch of these tokens, 20 of these tokens, and I'm going to show you a picture of these bad boys here. There we go. So is that the right direction? That is the wrong direction. That is the right direction. This is like a better image of these bad boys. These are provided by Tactical Tokens. These dudes did a Kickstarter, and they also have a website right there, tacticaltokens.com, where you can order these things if you want. I think they're really cool. They're very useful for me. I love miniatures. Don't get me wrong. I love my miniatures. I have hordes of miniatures I use in my games. But the reason I love Tactical Tokens is that, well, first of all, they're high quality. Second of all, they average out to be a little over $1 each. So if you're on a budget, they're a way to go. And the final reason is that when I go to gaming conventions, I often don't want to lug around all my miniatures to run a game. And so these things, that's the wrong side, these things come in handy. So we're going to be giving those away. We're going to be giving a bunch of those away, 20 of those bad boys right there. So that is the giveaway. What we're going to do is a little bit later in the stream, I will be giving you the secret word that you're going to need to enter the giveaway. You'll probably notice that down in the description there is a link to the giveaway, but you need the secret word. If you don't put in the right word, then you're not going to be eligible to win. That's how that works. And it is only open to people in the stream with us tonight as well. So you got to be here in the stream. That is a way. I mean, it's Friday night. You guys could be doing like whatever you want to do instead of like chilling with your friends or partying or something or whatever people do on Friday night. You're like hanging out, talking Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. So we're going to make sure that we give you guys a chance to get a cool reward for that. Because giving up Friday nights to just hang out with us, which I don't know. Maybe we're that fun. I don't know. All right, let's find some more questions. More questions. I think I'm starting to I should probably wipe my face. I'm getting a little warm. I need to turn the fan on or something. All right, questions. I think I answered those questions. I have one other question. I have another pre-made question, but let us jump into the stream chat here and see what other questions we have going on. Where'd my thing go? Where'd my thing go? I'm looking for my thing. Sorry. There, I found it. Awesome. I found one from Robert Dakin. He says, question. If you were too generous at the start of the campaign and the players now have expectations of rewards being heaped on them, how do you put the brakes on without annoying them? That's awesome. So basically, you were giving away too many magic items. Am I right? Or too much treasure, too much gold? Okay, so the way to solve this, in my opinion, the best way to approach this is to go to your players and say, guys, I screwed up. I totally screwed up. I gave you guys way too many magic items and I gave you way too much gold. And now I'm assuming there's a reason you recognize this as a mistake, right? It creates unbalance or something, or now they have so much gold and they have nothing to spend it on, so it's meaningless or something. So I would go to my players and say, guys, I screwed up. I made a mistake. This is the mistake. These are the consequences as I see it. These are the results in the game. How can we solve this? What suggestions do you guys have for us to do? Okay, so you're asking your players. You're telling your players, I screwed up. And you're asking them what suggestions they have for how you guys can proceed. And this is very important because if you as a dungeon master just come in and say, you know, guys, I gave you too much stuff, I'm taking away magic items, your players are going to rightfully so feel like you're screwing them over because you're taking away their crap. You gave them something, they liked it, and now you're taking it away. So I would not do that. I would tell them what you see the situation is and then have a conversation with them, have a discussion, and ask them what solutions they can come up with. And here's the thing, if your players are involved in that conversation and they're giving suggestions about what we could do in the game, you know, to help the dungeon master out because now we have all these magic items and he has to throw crazy monsters at us to even challenge us. If your players are involved in that decision, then they will have buy-in, they will have ownership on that decision, and they are more likely to support it and feel good about it than if you just came in and just took their crap away. So I do not have a solution for you. I think that it is a solution that you and your players should come up with. So there you go. I know that does not give you an easy executable answer. Well, it does. It does. Talk with your players. So there you go. That's how I would do it. I've done that before. There have been times when I allowed something and then there was a problem And I just talked to the player or the players, and we figured it out. So, Subcycle, I see you in Discord. You just mentioned me. And then you put a carrot. I don't know what that means. Am I a rabbit? All right, rocking, rolling. Another question. Give me some questions. Feed me questions. I'm a question monster. Let's see. Joshua Solt, our sheriff, one of our sheriffs, says, please remember to avoid spoilers for campaigns when asking questions. Yes, please avoid spoilers, especially if you're asking about a module. We don't want to spoil folks. Questions. I see more questions. I'm going to give a quick scrolly to see if I missed any other super chats. I don't want to, be ignoring a super chat, because the whole idea of the super chat is you get to go to the front of the line and not wait. So I want to make sure I'm honoring that. Skips. I don't know how to pronounce your name, dude. Questions on gritty realism rules. Short rest is 8 hours. Long rest is 1 week. You could try it. If I were using gritty realism rules, I would probably do something a little different, just because those rules make me have to redesign dungeons. And if I'm running a module, then I probably have to redesign a dungeon in the module. So I want to, if I'm going to be introducing gritty realism rules in my game, I want to make sure it doesn't create more work for me. Because I don't need more work. Dungeon mastering is enough work to begin with. I don't need to create more of it for myself. There's nothing wrong with those rules if you want to give those a go, right? I just know that would result in me having to redesign dungeons, because you're not going to be able to take on the whole dungeon before a long rest. You're going to need to take a short rest, and a short rest is 8 hours, and that's a problem when you're resting for 8 hours in a dungeon. So if you can no longer take short rests, that means that a dungeon needs to be much shorter, potentially. Maybe just 2 encounters in an entire dungeon, because you suddenly have to take an 8-hour rest. Because if there's a big, huge dungeon, and you have to leave to take an 8-hour rest so you don't get ganged up on and or something, and then you come back, well, they're going to have possibly reinforced their position, or they're going to be waiting for you because they know that they're under assault. And so those rules create natural consequences for the game master. So if I'm thinking of gritty realism, I'm going to be thinking about, I think there's a question here. All right, Subcycle, I see your message. I don't know what you mean by it, but I can take a look at it. If I'm going to put gritty realism rules, I would do things like you might have where if you drop to 0 hit points, you might have to roll on a lingering injury chart, okay? However, don't make it too nasty, okay? If there was a 90% chance my lingering injury is me losing a leg, then my character has been ruined, okay? And you might as well just kill me at that point. So there is a point at which there's gritty realism, and then there's a point at which I'm just screwing you over and making your player unplayable. So, however, that said, I would, again, have a conversation with your players. If you're considering gritty realism things, talk with them, see if they're cool with that, if that's the type of game that they want to play, and if they're on board with that and they're like, bring it on, then I would introduce some rules, and I would say, hey guys, these are the rules I want to try out. If these suck and we are not having fun and you hate them, tell me, and we will either adjust them or get rid of them, okay? I don't want to introduce rules that suddenly cause you guys to think the game sucks, right? Tell me about it so we can talk and we can fix things before you guys are just like, I'm out of here. This game sucks. I lost 2 legs and an eye the last time I dropped to 0 hit points, and I'm not doing that again. So those are my thoughts on that. Subcycle, I'm going to take a look at what you dropped in the Discord to see what's going on over here. You're trying to show me a spreadsheet or something? Live stream questions. Subcycle, you're the man. All right, so he is on the fly creating a spreadsheet in Google Docs with all the questions that people are answering. So that's awesome. I appreciate that, dude. Let's figure that out. I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger so I can read it all. And it looks like he is marking the ones I've answered already. You're the man, dude. All right, here we go. Monster scaling. Nick Williams asked, what is the best way to scale up a published NPC or monster's challenge rating? Like, how would you make a CR 15 vampire mage a CR 20 adversary? So the way I would do it is I would go to the Dungeon Master Guide. There are rules in here about how to adjust the challenge rating of a monster. Basically, there are, I think, there are defensive categories and offensive categories. And there are 4 offhand. I don't use these rules very often, so if I misquote these, do not track me down and beat me, because it's not my fault. I don't use the rules a whole lot. But if I remember correctly, there are 2 categories, defensive and offensive. And based upon how good certain things are in those categories, it influences your challenge rating. So for defensive is your armor class and how many hit points you have. For offensive, it is your attack bonus or your difficulty rating, or difficulty rating for like saving throws, or it is your the damage you do, the damage per round. Okay, and those 4 things determine your CR basically. And so there are rules in there. So if I wanted to take a level 15 vampire mage and turn him into a CR 20, I would be increasing armor class, hit points, damage per round he puts out, his difficulty saving throws for any spells he might have, or his attack rating if he mainly attacks people. I would be increasing those, and I would be using the rules in the Dungeon Master Guide to inform those decisions to get that challenge rating where I want it to go. Okay, so that's an overview of the rules. The rules, they're not super complex once you read them and understand them, but they're not like the easiest rules in the world either. So the other way is to just kind of like wing it a little bit, if you're comfortable with that. If you are making something a CR 20 though, then you might want to start thinking about legendary actions and things like that as well. Legendary resistances and stuff like that too. So there are some thoughts for you. I think my answer is just use the rules here. I hope that is not as crappy of an answer as it might seem. All right. I got that one. So Subcycle, I got the one from Brett Felt. Booyah! We have a $10 super chat from NZ. No, it's not. Why did it say NZ? That's interesting. AJ Pickett, thank you, buddy, for the $10 super chat. He says, greetings. How do you handle choke attacks? Page 183 player handbook for reference. That's a great. Thank you for the reference. In bar brawls and with strong creatures bypassing armor class with grapples. All right, let's take a look at this. Let's delve into this. Page 183. So he says choke attacks. Where are choke attacks? Oh, so you're talking about like suffocating rules. I don't think there aren't any actual rules about choking somebody in choke attacks. There are some rules on that page about suffocating, I believe, but I don't see anything necessarily about choke attacks. So I'm gonna guess that you're talking about like if somebody grapples another person and then is trying to choke them or something. So in the rules, grappling basically is an opposed athletics check or acrobatics check. So for instance, let's say that I'm trying to grapple you, AJ. I have to roll an athletics check to get my hands on you and get a hold of you. You, on the other hand, can roll either athletics or acrobatics to escape my grapple. And whichever one of us has a higher result wins. And if I grapple you, the only thing that I am opposing upon you is your movement becomes 0. And so this is maybe I got a hold of your arm, or I have a hold of your shirt, or maybe I have like you held around the waist or something so you can't move. But the only thing I'm doing is stopping your movement. In the rules, as they're written, there is no way to then turn that grapple into a chokehold. I think there is a feat called Grappler that allows you to do something to make your grapple even better. Maybe to impose restriction or something like that, where you have disadvantage on attack rolls and people have advantage on attacks against you. Restrained is the word. I think there is a feat called Grappler, potentially, correct me if I'm wrong, that deals with that. But you could create a house rule that allows someone who's grappling somebody else to try to choke them as well. It is not as easy as you might think to choke somebody who is like fighting you in hand-to-hand combat. Okay, you got to have some skills to get another trained warrior to choke them. Okay, I've done a little bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and stuff, and like chokeholds they're a thing, right? But when you're going against a skilled opponent, they're not the easiest thing to land. So if you wanted to create some house rules where you could first grapple somebody, I would do it something like this. If you want to, I am totally making this up on the spot off the top of my head, so this might not actually be well balanced, but it's a thought that somebody can like crunch some numbers on and improve upon. Let's say you got someone grappled, okay? Your next turn, you could use an action to improve the grapple, okay? Maybe at that point he becomes restrained. You might even say that you have to take the grappler feat in order to do this, like it's like a prerequisite or something. And then on your next turn, so first it's grappled, and then you have the person restrained, and then you do another opposed check. And if you win, you then have that person in like a chokehold at that point. Okay, so they're grappled, they're restrained, and then you have them in a chokehold, and then they're suffocating at that point. And then we simply apply the suffocating rules as they're in the player handbook. So that is a way you could do it. Those are thoughts off the top of my head. To my knowledge, there aren't any actual rules for choking people in the player handbook. So as a dungeon master, you just kind of gotta feel your way through that and come up with something that you feel is reasonable. And it might be something you talk with your players about. Hey guys, what do you think is reasonable? And here's something too, AJ. When I don't have a whole lot of house rules. As a rule, I try to just play with the rules that are in the book and have as few house rules as possible. That's just kind of how I do it. That's not necessarily the right way. It's just my way. But if I do introduce a house rule, I usually talk to my players about it and see if we can determine what seems reasonable to us. And I remind them that whatever rule you can use, such as choking, my bad guys can also use that rule. And I will use that rule. If you're using it, then I will be using it as well. And so it goes two ways. And so I remind them of that because there can be a tendency for some players to want to get little advantages here and there to make themselves more and more powerful. It happens, right? So to remind them that you guys, if you're able to do this, I'm able to do this too, is kind of that checks and balances thing. So I think part of it's conversation there. So hopefully that helps. I think do I have another one? I do. Another super chat, going to the top of the line. Joan Dudley, thank you for the $10 spot. Appreciate it. I'm punching the camera. This is actually a fist bump. It's a fist bump. That is what that's intended to be. So there you go. And I'll ask your question after I drink my coffee. All right. What's subcycle? What does blue mean? Some of these questions are in blue. What does that mean? Joan Dudley, your question. Sorry if you answered this. How do you begin? Don't be sorry. You can ask whatever questions you want. How do you begin campaigns? Do you go with the party knowing each other or the classic job board? What's the best starting adventure? Okay, so I think there's no one true way to begin a campaign. So there are lots of ways you could do it. There are lots of good ideas for doing it. I will specifically talk about the two things that you mentioned in your message to me, in my comments on those. Do you go with the party knowing each other? I usually try to either have them meet each other at the beginning or have them already met each other and they know each other. Usually there needs to be, usually in the first game session or a session 0, I tell my players to establish a reason that you all are working together. This is part of designing your character. It's your responsibility as a player to design your character such that you have a reason to work with the other players, with the other characters that are in your group, and that you have a motivating reason to go on to be part of the campaign or whatever. So I'm slowly moving away from homebrew adventures and going to running modules. And so if I tell my players, hey guys, we're gonna start running Dragon Heist, for instance, or we're gonna start running Curse of Strahd, then part of meeting me halfway as a player is that player's character has a reason to run that module, has a reason to do Dragon Heist. And so I tell my players, you need to have a reason to work with the other people in your adventuring party, and you need to have a reason that your character would be going on this adventure. So you're like meeting me halfway. And so that is part of like how I would begin a campaign, first of all. And that's usually a session 0 conversation, right? And that avoids lots of problems down the road, okay? It avoids like the players, their player characters being like, I don't like this guy, I would never work with him. We are fundamentally different, and I refuse to travel with him. Because we address that beforehand. We have them decide why they will work together, right? And sometimes you'll have the player who's like, I'm not motivated whatsoever by this adventure. I'm going to go to that island over there and live out my life doing X, Y, and Z. So if you have your players also have a reason why they would go on the adventure that's built into their character, possibly their backstory, but certainly in their motivations, then you are heading off some of these classic problems that I feel dungeon masters often have to deal with. So that is some thoughts on that. I think having them know each other is perfectly fine. Usually I have them meet each other for the first time in game, right? And then they get to know each other somehow and decide to adventure together. I think a job board could be cool. A job board could be fun too. I think either of those work. And what is the best starting adventure? I have heard, I've never played it, I've never even read it, but I have heard that, what is it called? Phandelver. What is that? Somebody help me out. I'm drawing a blank here. Phandelver is the one, but it's Lost Minds of Phandelver or something like that. I have heard that that's a really good starting adventure, and that's just in the starter set. So I would recommend that, especially if you are this is the consequence of a live stream. The coffee is getting to me. What am I going to do? Especially if you are a new dungeon master or your players are new, Lost Minds of Phandelver has actual things in it that help you run the game for the first time and kind of walk you through it a little bit and give you like a helping hand. And so for that reason, I'd recommend it. I've also heard that it's a really good adventure. It's really fun. So that is my recommendation for a good starting adventure. So I hope that answers your question. Joan, thank you for the money. All right. Any more super chats that I missed or anything? Colton, thank you, buddy, for the $2. Boom. Appreciate that. Didn't have a question, so I guess you're just love the crap that I'm doing, so you're giving me some money. Cool, man. I appreciate that. Any more that I'm missing here? I don't want to miss people in their super chats. I have scrolled down. All right. Oh, there's another one. Armador the Dwarf. Thank you, buddy, for the buck. I appreciate it. And somebody threw $5 and then retracted the message, so I don't know what that means. And I think I got that one. All right, I'm going to go back to Subcycle's questions over here. He's got a bunch of questions in the chat or in our Excel spreadsheet. That's a great idea too, by the way, dude. That's really cool. I like that. That made my life easier. Like, boom, easy life. DM Organization says, new to the channel, but question. DM Organization is the topic. Instrumental new to the channel. I don't know what that is. Anyway, somebody who's new to the channel says he has a question. Sorry, my moderator, I think, has got your name something. I don't know. Whatever. Is there a template for a DM to sort of organize the world you made? People names, towns, enemies, and miscellaneous things. I don't think so. I can tell you that I use OneNote, and I have a lot of that stuff organized already. I have had other people ask me to provide a sort of template in OneNote that other people can use. One of these days, I'm going to try to get around to that. I am not aware of a way to organize that stuff, a sort of template. If I ever make one and I provide it for free, then I will make one and provide it for free. Sorry I couldn't be of more help. Okay, Armador the Dwarf, $5. Thank you, sir. All right, so he says, fist bump, boom. Sorry, I sent so many, but I had to use my Christmas money since I am 10. Question, do you have any tips for a DM? I have lots of tips for a DM. My whole channel is full of tips for DMs. So where do you want to start, man? let me think of a question or a tip off the top of my head. Don't be a jerk. Biggest number one thing. As a dungeon master, just don't be a jerk. You know, just be a cool human being. You know, treat your players with respect. You know, try to make the game fun for them. Don't be an antagonistic. Don't play dungeon master versus player. You know, you are there to cultivate the game experience, to make the game experience better for them, for everybody at the table to have fun, including yourself. Okay, so that is probably the biggest thing. The only dungeon master I ever had issues with was because he was breaking what I just told you. Okay, and if it had been other things, then I probably would have been able to deal with it, you know, or something. But like dungeon masters who are just jerks to their players, who create this antagonistic, tense game world where it feels like it's the dungeon master versus the players, and he's always pulling DM screw jobs on them and doing horrible things to them and making them feel like crap or something. Like that's just that's unforgivable. You know, that is not the type of game I want to play in ever. So my biggest tip to you is just don't be like that as a dungeon master, you know. So there you go. That's the biggest, most important tip I think I can give you off the top of my head. All right, let's keep moving. Keep moving. All right. Danilo Sore says, how can I handle players that cheat? All right. You want to know how you handle players that cheat? 1 second. All right. Any questions? Don't do that. Totally joking. Okay? Gosh, somebody's gonna report me to the police. All right, so if a player is cheating, you do not use an axe on him. That's just a joke, folks. If you have a player who's cheating, so here's the thing: if you know he's cheating, if you've witnessed it, you've caught him, then it's probably time for a discussion, right? Like, dude, I just saw your die. It was an 8, and you just said it was an 18. Right? I saw the 8, you scooped it up as fast as you could, and then you said 18. That's cheating, dude. What's going on? You know, what's up with that? You know? I would have a discussion about that. Depending on the mood I'm in, I might do it right there in front of everybody. I might decide to do it away from the table with him. And I run all my games in person, by the way. So, like, we're all there face-to-face. Face-to-face conversation is the best way to communicate with people, too. It's not email, it's not message, you know, it's face-to-face is the best way to communicate with people. So if I had proof and I knew the player was cheating, and here's the thing, if the other players are telling me he's cheating, that's not good enough, right? I need to witness it myself. I need to have proof. I need to feel confident, right? Before I accuse somebody of cheating, I need to be darn sure that, like, it's happening, right? And then I'm going to try to approach it as gently as possible. I'm not going to be like a jerk to him and like flip out on him, but if he's cheating, I think it should be addressed. If it's proven and I saw it with my own eyes, you know, then I need to address this. Like, what's going on, dude? You know, why are you doing that? You know, that's not cool, you know, and have a discussion about it. You know, I mean, and then where that discussion goes, I have no idea. It depends on what the player says, and it depends on so many things, because the branches from that beginning of the discussion could go anywhere, and you just got to play it by ear. But I think I'd probably bring it up to him if I had proof, if I knew it was happening. Okay, if a player was constantly rolling high, you know, but I didn't really have any proof, and he's just rolling high, then I'm not gonna accuse the dude of cheating. I don't think that's cool, you know. So, all right, there we go. It's giveaway time. We're doing the giveaway. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here's how this works. There is a just cheat back. Daniel says just cheat back. All right, man. Giveaway time. So what we are doing is to enter the giveaway, there is a link down in the description, okay? And what you need to do is go into that link, and there is going to be a square there that says like secret password for the stream. And what you need to do is enter the secret password for the stream in there. And I'm going to give you the secret password for the stream. But first, a shameless plug. Actually, I just want to tell you guys about one of the friends of the channel, DungeonFog. These guys make a really cool online RPG map making tool. I suggest you check them out. They have a free version that you can try out for free. That's why it's called a free version. And then if you actually want to use it, you get more access to different things that are really cool. You can get 10% off a yearly sub with the Barbarian promo code, the DM Lair. So I recommend these guys. They're a friend of the channel. I use their stuff for the adventures that I publish over on DriveThruRPG. There's a link below to those as well if you want to check those out. So anyway, that's my shameless plug. And I know you guys were all like, you're like ready to like type in the secret word, and then like I'm totally messing up your jam. So here's the secret word. The secret word is the DM smiles. The DM smiles. And I just typed it into the chat as well. So go to that link, throw in the DM smiles. Subcycle just threw a link to it in the chat as well, so you can click on that. If you want an additional chance to win these tokens, maybe for some of you who didn't see what we're giving away, I'm going to throw this up on the screen just in case you didn't see this. This is what we're giving away tonight. So if you want an additional chance to win, you can also sign up for my email list. I do not spam people. You're going to get an email from me like maybe once a month, probably less frequently, because I just don't have, I will tell you about certain things that I think you might be interested in, but I'm not going to spam you. That's so lame and stupid. I hate that crap. So I will not do that to you. But if you want an additional chance to win, then you can sign up for my email list as well. So there you go. That's how you do it. That is how you sign up for the giveaway tonight. That's it. You do not have to subscribe to me or like the video or leave a comment, although, I mean, that's all cool, but it's not a requirement. All you got to do is put the secret word in, and I just gave it to you. It is the DM smiles. And what we are going to do as well is at the end of the stream, we're going to find who the winner is. Literally, I will pull up the screen and I will click the button that says find winner, and we will all see who the winner is together so that you guys know I'm not cheating or something. And I see a super chat. I'm getting your super chat. Adria Riley, thank you for the $5. I appreciate that. Boom, fist bump for you. She says, how do you keep younger players engaged in the game? All right, so I actually run a game for younger players. When I first started running 5th edition, I ran it for my daughter. She was about 10 or 11 at the time, okay? And when I was running it for her, I observed what she liked in the game, and then I did more of that. My daughter, she was okay with combat and stuff, but she loved talking in person to other NPCs in the world. And she would get up from the table and like get all animated and be talking and stuff. And so I knew that she loved like the role-playing aspect, the personal, what do you call it, social interactions. And so I gave her more of that. I just shoved that stuff on there because she loved it, and it kept her engaged and excited about the game. Now, I have a game right now that I run for 4 different players. They are aged, I want to say they're about 14 now-ish, more or less, okay? And I do the same thing. I see what it is that they enjoy about the game, and then I try to give them more of that. There are 2 boys and 2 girls. I can tell you right now, the 2 boys, you can probably guess what they like doing in the game. They like killing stuff. Killing stuff and taking their things, all right? And so there are combats where they get to kill stuff and take their things. Now, the girls are okay with killing things. You know, they get into killing things too. It's not a problem. But it seems like they enjoy more of the talkie-talkie, the role-playing type stuff. So I make sure that I give them those things. When I'm running with kids, too, with younger people, I am also a little bit looser with the rules. I don't worry about the rules so much. We're still following the rules, but I'm a little bit more whatever about them. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. The other thing, too, is that I tend to not run as challenging of a game for younger players. I want them to feel heroic and feel awesome and like beat the crap out of things. Okay. Now, that said, I have had 2 of their characters die in my games. Okay. One of the boys had his character die. He was reckless all the time, so that didn't surprise me. And then one of the girls had her character die. And so it's not like I'm like not playing the game with them. It's not like they're invincible, but I'm definitely not giving them as hard of a challenge as I do to my other players, my adult players, right? And so that's one thing. I tend to give them more magic items than I ordinarily would give to other players because it gives them something to get excited about. I don't go overboard, right? Because then if you're getting so many magic items that you're like, oh, just a +5 sword, well, la-di-da, I'll just go put that in the bank. If you get too many magic items, it loses its specialness, right? So you don't want to do that either. But off the top of my head, those are some things that I do for younger players that is helpful for me in my games. So I hope that helps you with your question. And then I got to go back to the text. Where is that? Subcycle, I need your spreadsheet. That's not your spreadsheet. I clicked the wrong button. And now Excel's coming up. All right, here we go. Let me do a little scrolly thing. Bum. All right. Another question. We got lots of questions here. Keeping the questions coming. All right. Kerrigan Van Buskrick says, it's a question. What behaviors do you love to see from your players? Which do you hate to see? Ooh, that's a good question. You're making me think. Like, most of the other questions up until now, I've just been like, boom, 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 boom. There, take some answers. But this one I actually have to think about. I like this question. I like it when I can see my players engaging with the game world and using their brains and like really thinking things through, you know. This type of thing doesn't happen in combat. This is usually something that happens like when they're just like, well, you know, if we do X thing now, or they may be planning something, or they're thinking things through, because there's a story in all of my games. There's stuff going on in my games, and when they are like talking about those things at the table, and they're discussing things and figuring things out, and really engaging with the story, the plot, and stuff that's going on, that is the thing I think that I love seeing that, because then I can see that, hey, they're not just like, whatever, let's just go over to this dungeon and kill some stuff, or, you know, they're actually thinking about things, they're internalizing it, and they're making it personal in a way, and I can see that it's important to them. I love seeing that. That is a spectacular thing. What do I hate to see from my players? I hate to see my players getting upset at each other. I think this is one of the things that when a couple players have a disagreement about something and are angry at each other, I avoid that crap like the plague. I actually have some house rules that I put into effect intentionally to prevent situations where the players are going to get mad at each other. Okay, and if I see there's some tension between some players, then I'm Johnny on the spot. I'm hopping on there. I'm doing some relationship like management stuff, and I'm talking with people, and I'm trying to figure out how to resolve this. Because when you have players angry at each other, like, good things aren't going to happen in your game, right? Somebody's going to get up, maybe eventually get upset enough to leave, right? So I gotta be on top of that, right? And so like, for instance, I don't allow players to steal from other player characters. Sorry, you can't do it. I don't care if you're a rogue. I don't care if that's what my player would do or my character would do. That's a wing rod defense. Matt Colville did a video about that not too long ago. Excellent video. Totally agree with him. That is a wing rod defense. That's what my character would do. Who created your character? Who is in control of your character? Who decided to have your character behave that way? I'm sorry, I don't accept that. So there are some house rules I put into place that prevent tension between players and not allowing them to steal from each other. Yes, it takes away agency. It absolutely does. It is something that I do only. I almost never would take away agency. This is an exception of it because I'm looking at the harmony of my players, the harmony of my game, the harmony of my group, right? And I want to make sure that everybody's on good terms with each other. And one thing that I saw several years ago is I allowed PCs to steal from each other and keep treasure back and not share with the group. And the thing is that everybody at the table knew it was happening. This player knew that this player was taking most of the loot and not sharing with the rest of the group. And so his character didn't know, but the player knew, and that caused tension. And so I don't go there. I am much more concerned about us having a fun game and staying together. My groups have been together for like years, and so the last thing I want to do is have some people get upset at each other and leave. You know what I mean? That's not fun. And so there you go. Answer to your question. That was a long answer. I see at least one super chat. Let me hit that up. Taylor, thank you for your super chat. $2 fist bump. Thank you, sir. Do you have advice for handling a necromancer PC? So this is going to be controversial. I think some folks aren't going to like this answer. I'm out of coffee. Let me get some coffee, because that will be a nice dramatic pause where you're like, what's he going to say? Ooh. Be right back. My coffee pot's right over here. This will be fast. Literally across the room. All right. I have the loot. I have the coffee. Woo! I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm sporting a Grand Con shirt. I will be at the Grand Con convention this year. It's in August-ish sometime. So if you want to play some D&D with me, Grand Con. It's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. All right, now for answering the question. See how I'm drawing that out? I'm like drawing that out. The anticipation is palpable. All right, advice for handling a necromancer PC. And the reason, I'm assuming that the reason you're asking this question is that necromancers, I'm going to show that. I'm going to, Subcycle, there's a comment from Colton. It sounds like he gave me a super chat, but he didn't put the question in. So can you track his question down and make sure I answer that for him? I want to make sure that I honor his super chat. So answering the necromancer question, look at how this is what a dungeon master does. He's just like making it more suspenseful. The reason you're asking this question, I'm presuming, about the necromancer is a necromancer can have minions, undead that he's raising, right? And the next thing you know, like, the focus of every combat is no longer the players fighting the enemy, but the necromancer and all of his freaking minions that, like, might steal the spotlight some. And even if they aren't stealing the spotlight, they're certainly making the combat take a lot longer, because you have more actions to resolve, right? And that player, his turn might take a lot longer, and the other players have to wait longer for their turns. And so they're here waiting, getting bored, the phones are coming out, while the necromancer player is resolving the attacks of like 50 zombies. And I'm exaggerating. I don't think you can get that many. So the question is, how do you handle that? There is a simple answer to that, and probably a lot of people won't like it. You limit how many undead monsters he can do at a time. That's it. That's the answer. I'm not the only dungeon master who has that rule. I started playing a Pathfinder game for a little bit, and the dungeon master had that rule. He's like, you know what? If you're going to do summons, you're limited to having, I think his rule was 1 summon. Or 2 or something like that. So the simple thing is to simply say, and this can apply to necromancers, it might apply to something else, like summon Fae or that druid thing where they can summon pixies who can then turn people into T-Rexes and crap like that and break stuff apparently. So the answer is to have a house rule that says, listen guys, in order to make sure that we don't spend a bajillion hours in combat because of necromancer with the horde, and to make sure that the rest of the players aren't getting bored, right? House rule. There's a limit on the number of summons, right? This is the way it's going to be for various, and you can explain the reasons and stuff like that, but that is how I handle it. I had a player who wanted to be a necromancer, and so I gave him the rule, you're going to have a maximum. I think I did 2 summons. I think I did 2 undead with him. You can have a maximum of 2, and we had a conversation. I explained what the reasoning was, this is why and all that kind of stuff. And that's how it was, so, that's how you handle that. If you want to handle it that way, the alternative is to not, and just deal with a messy game. I mean, unless you're resolving things narratively, battles are going to drag on and players are going to get bored. I think if you can do it with the horde and everybody's having fun and they're not on their phones on Facebook and crap, then, dude, you're definitely better than I am. I have to put rules in place because I can't do it. Can't do it. All right. Subcycle, what was his question? Where was his question? The dude who gave me... Whoa. Oh my gosh. There are so many questions. How am I ever going to answer all these questions? Wow. Wow. Colton, what was your question, man? Pop it down there. I think it was Colton that gave it to me. Yeah. Colton Lambrecht, throw your question down, buddy, and I will answer it. I'm waiting right here, man. I'm waiting for your question. Oh, yes. Havoc Monkey says, I am the Dread Lich Arcanos, Lord of the Undead, ruler of the Black Veil King of the Fallen, and I can control one skeleton at a time. If you're a lich and you're like an NPC, you're a monster under my control, then you're going to have hordes of zombies. But if you're a player character, we're going to have to go with different rules because, yeah, gameplay. So, might not work for you. You guys might have a different way to go about it. That's cool. Everybody has a different jam, and that respect. Okay, Colton's question. My question was how to do a clashing mechanic with weapons and spells. How would you do it? I don't understand your question. What does that mean? I need clarification. Sorry, Colton. What does that mean? A clashing mechanic with weapons and spells. Clarify, and I'm gonna hit another question while you're clarifying. Oh, Havoc Monkey liked that read. Was that nice and dramatic enough for you? Get that deep voice, maybe some gravelly voice for you. Make it really evil. I can't talk like that for long. That really takes a number on the throat, talking like that. Let me see. I have a question here. Oh, so somebody said, how do you play with people expecting a game to be like Critical Role, but it's not my style? I think I would tell people, I run games like I run games. Most dungeon masters have their own style. If your expectation is that I'm going to run a game like Critical Role, then I'm probably not going to meet your expectation. And you're welcome to find another dungeon master who wants to run a game like that and has the ability to run a game like that. I personally don't want to run a game like Critical Role. I have a different style, There's going to be more combat and stuff, and, there's not going to be as much dungeon master exposition. I don't spend a lot of time describing things I describe things to my players, but most of the time, my players are the ones that are at the center of the action that are doing things, And so, so to be fair, I've only watched a couple Critical Role sessions, so I don't know exactly what their jam is, right? So I'm not totally qualified to comment too much on this, but the basic bottom line is that, like, you shouldn't feel obligated to run a game just because somebody else has expectations of it. Run. There's a balance, right? You, as a dungeon master, you want to run a game that's your style, but you also want to be thinking about what your players enjoy. What do they like in their game? And then try to give them more of that. So I think there's a balance there. So if you have players that definitely there's something they enjoy about Critical Role that they would want to have in the game, then I would definitely consider that. I would not throw away how I run my game and just simply go to that or try to emulate that. And gosh, good luck emulating that. I mean, you got to have some mad skills to run a game like Mercer does. Like, I do stupid voices, but I'm not a voice actor, so I would just say, hey, you guys, if you enjoy this type of thing, I'll throw a little bit of that in there if I can. But I do my own thing, and let's have fun doing what I'm able to do. I don't know. Those are my thoughts on that. I mean, to be clear, I love what Critical Role is doing. Like, they are taking our awesome hobby and elevating it to, like, new levels. Massive audience, people getting interested in Dungeons and Dragons and wanting to play and stuff. I think what they're doing for the hobby is amazing, So I'm the last person in the world that's going to bash Critical Role. Give me a break. But if that happens, for the record, I've never had that happen either, where actually, most of my players don't watch Critical Role. In fact, I remember talking about Critical Role once with them, and they were like, what's that? So, I don't know. Okay, I got some super chats going on. Pandolf gave me $5 for the voice work. You know, I've heard that a lot of people don't like this voice. This is my rogue voice. It's also my kobold voice. People are like, that voice is annoying. Sorry. I need to get sorry. It's warm down here. I'm like a big sweaty beast. All right, let's hit some questions. So many questions. Wow. I got that one. I got the one from Jake Nan about players being invested. Oh, cool. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but the player who sent me the message on Twitter says that her player is out of the hospital and is doing better now. Awesome. That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. All right, cool. If you're still with us here and you didn't hear my answer, I did answer the question. It's a little bit farther back in the stream, so I would just catch it on the replay. To summarize, I would do what you think she would want you to do. If you think that she would want you all to keep playing in memory of her, because that was the thing that brought you together as a friend group, then I would honor what you think her wishes would be. That's the short answer to my question, but it is back in the stream. So thank you for the question too. And I'm so happy that she's doing better. All right. David Henson says, question, how do you keep your party evenly leveled? Do you duel out party XP or individual XP? I have done it both ways. When I first started doing 5th edition, I doled out individual XP, like everybody gets XP. And most people, if you're present, you get the same XP as everybody else. If you're at the game session, you get XP. I did have a thing for a while where if you missed a game session, you didn't get XP, and then I sometimes had people falling behind. But then I didn't like that because people are behind and it makes things more difficult for me as a dungeon master to run that way, and the player doesn't like being left behind. So then I set a thing where everybody gets individual XP, but once somebody reaches enough XP to level up, everybody levels up. So then everybody stays at the same level. And so whoever the leader is, everybody levels with him, right? And Nigel, for a long time, was the leader. Everybody was leveling up with Nigel. Now, however, what I do is I just do milestone XP. You know, some folks are going to be like, Luke, that's really lazy. You should be doing a better job being lazy with milestone. There are various reasons that I have come to use milestone. One of the reasons is that it's easier for me. The second reason I like milestone is that because you are giving them a level when they accomplish certain objectives, certain milestones, if you will, they are encouraged to overcome the obstacles before them in whatever means they kind of desire. In other words, they don't have to just kill everything to get experience points. They can overcome those obstacles and obtain their objective in different ways, right? And so I feel that milestone takes some of the pressure off from just killing everything before them, in a way, okay? So, but I use milestone. That's the answer to that question. And that keeps everybody leveled. It makes my life easier, makes my players... I have not heard any of my players complain about milestone XP. I know there's an argument not to use them, okay? There is an argument not to use them. If you're into the Angry GM at all, if you read Angry, I know he has a bajillion word long essay about why milestone XP is stupid or sucky or whatever, cartoon swears, and why you should use individual XP and don't be lazy and stuff. Respect, okay? You might fall on that side, and that's fine. This is just how I do it and why I do it that way. I think I saw something up here. Okay, $5 super chat from, I think the way this is going with all of the questions that are backing up, super chats are getting the answers. I'm gonna do some more here. Don't worry, we're gonna keep going. All right, rocking and rolling. Jarrett Proctor says, how would I convert a second Bladesinger to 5th without ability loss? A second edition Bladesinger to 5th edition without ability loss. 5th edition nerfed one-handed casting with increased initiative and a lot of his Bladesong abilities. You talk to your dungeon master, right? To talk to your dungeon master if you want to convert it and not get it nerfed, and see if you can work with him. If you are the dungeon master, then you have the power, dude. The power is in your hands. You can convert that over without nerfing it in any way. Okay. What I would do is I would put the second edition Bladesinger on one side, the rules for it, the 5th edition over here. I would compare the differences, and then I would think about converting some of the things that 2nd edition had to 5th edition, writing those rules in, okay, in the 5th edition area. But then what I would do is I would compare those abilities with other classes that exist in 5th edition, such as Paladin or Rogue or Fighter, and see if it feels balanced to me. If I just gave the 5th edition Bladesinger a whole bunch of abilities that seem way unbalanced, that make that Bladesinger way more powerful than another class, then what I would do is I would look at how I would scale back my 5th edition Bladesinger. Maybe I take away something that's not one of the things that you transferred over that you were excited about, but you take away something else about him that you might be able to scale him down a little bit to put it more in balance. So I do not know all the statistics for a 2nd edition Bladesinger offhand. I am familiar with the 5th edition one a little bit, which I like a lot, actually. So I don't have like the exact numbers for you, and I probably wouldn't have the scope of this live stream to break it all down for you. But those are my suggestions for you. Port them over, compare it with other classes to see if it makes sense power-wise, and then I'd run with it as a beta. And as you're playing that 5th edition Bladesinger that you kind of like homebrewed a little bit, see how it is and adjust it during gameplay. If it seems way overpowered, then scale back on some things. If it seems not that powerful, then you can maybe give it something that you wanted to give it. If you're not the dungeon master, well, then you can talk to your dungeon master and work with your dungeon master to see if he's willing to figure out a way to improve things a little bit. So those are my thoughts on that. I hope that's a little bit helpful to you, sir. All right. No, thank you. Please, no vulgar words, ladies and gentlemen. We want to keep stuff clean around here. I do not use profanity. Please, family friendly. Much appreciated. All right. Questions? Alrighty then. I'm preparing to run... So Nubis asks, I'm preparing to run Storm King's Thunder. How much information should I present to my players before we start? How much should they know about the main characters and plot when making characters? So I've never read Storm King's Thunder. I've never read it, run it, or anything. I don't know the exact answer to your question. I think you should give them as much information as you think they need. So earlier in the stream, I mentioned that when you're creating characters, you should know why your characters are working together, and you should know why they're going to be going and playing this module. So if you're running Storm King's Thunder, then the player characters should have a reason to be running that adventure. So you might want to give them just enough of something to... Storm King's Thunder is about giants, so I'm assuming that the giants are like taking over the world or something, or doing something evil, and that the players have to oppose the giants. So you might just simply tell them something simple like that, that something is happening with giants, and you're going to be, on a quest or something against them, or I don't know, something that would at least give them the ability to create a motivation for their characters to like go on quests in your module and stuff. Give them just enough to create their characters, but not so much that you're going to ruin the adventure for them. You don't want to spoil it for them with too much information, right? So I think there's a balance there. That'd be my suggestion. Okay, Rickon says, how do you improvise combat maps if you need to? Google. My iPad goes with me to all my games, and if I need a combat map, I Google it. And then I just draw it out on the grid. Boom, there you go, combat map. Or I just wing it, and I just draw it out, as I go. Now, I play in person, so this is very easy for me. If you play online in like a virtual tabletop, then this is going to be a little more challenging for you. What I would do in that case is I would prepare ahead of time. I would have 3 or 4 taverns ready. I would have some caves. I would have some caverns. I would have some grasslands, some forests. I would have lots of these maps ready to go. I would have them organized in folders and ready to pull into your virtual tabletop whenever you need them, so that on the fly, you have maps ready to go. That's how I would do it if I were running it that way. So I hope that's helpful. You're not really improvising, right? You're actually preparing in advance for the eventuality that you would need those maps. If you're asking how do you actually improvise, that's just a matter of your own creative ability and your ability to improvise, and I don't know if I have good advice for how to become better at improvising besides running the game a lot and practicing and just becoming and looking at lots of maps so you get ideas for stuff. I hope that helps a little bit. So person asks, Luke, how do you improvise? Luke's answer, don't improvise, prepare more. I don't know. It's not a good answer, but it's what I got. How many D&D dice do you need? All right, Teresa, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You can never have enough. If you're a dungeon master, if you're a player, you can never have enough, okay? You get, like, bags of these things, right? You get bags of holding full of dice so that you can loan them out to players when they forget your dice. And you bring pencils and stuff so that when players don't bring pencils, you can loan them out. You can never have enough dice. Always get more dice. By the way, I've also been thinking, guys, and let me know if this is interesting to you, but I have been thinking of getting some customized dice that have like my little DM Lair red dragon head logo, like on the 20. Like, so on a D20, it would have like that dragon head instead of the 20. And like, I'm thinking of like getting a customized, like an entire set of dice from like D4 all the way up to D20 that have my little logo and crap on them. So if that sounds interesting to you, then let me know, and I'm thinking about doing that. And my thought on that too is that I would use those in giveaways as well, because I think that would be really cool. Like maybe some black dice with the letters in red, and then my red dragon head logo and crap. I think that'd be really cool. I'd roll some crits on those dice. While we're talking about dice, all right, let's see. What other questions we got? F. Huber's in the house. What up, dude? He says he buys the 10-pound bag. Yeah, this is not a 10-pound bag. This is maybe a pound or two. So he's like got this big old thing like this that he's buying. That's awesome. I love that. All right. Philip says, can you say what iPad cover you have? Because I think I have the same cover. I have no idea. This cover right here is actually a cover. This came with it. It's a Logi. It's a Logi cover. This is my work iPad, actually. I just use it for D&D. I almost never use it at work. I just use it for D&D. Actually, I use it all the time at work. So my manager, if you're listening to this, I use my iPad all the time at work. Next question. What should I do if my players beat my BBEG too easily? My big bad evil guy. What if they beat my villain too easily? All right, Jake. Cheat? So this is not, you could do this one of two ways. So there are two ways to look at this question. There are two ways to look at this. It depends on what flavor you are as a dungeon master. If they defeat your big bad evil guy really fast and he goes down, okay, your players might be like, wow, we're awesome. We just defeated him. That was great. He's dead. However, they might also be like, wow, that was like totally anticlimactic. The big bad evil guy of the entire campaign, and we defeated him in one round because our paladin got 3 critical smites. Our wizard did this, and this guy did the blah, 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 whatever. It could be totally anticlimactic also to defeat the big bad very quickly. And so you might do something like extend hit points. For instance, if they just dealt 500 damage to him, well, he didn't actually have 300 hit points, did he? He had 800. So you could extend damage. Now, some of you might be like, Luke, that's messed up. That is cheating. I'm out of here. You make the game fun for your players, okay? So Now, some of you might think that that's not right, that that's cheating or something. That opinion is legitimate. You're welcome to feel that way. I think that I make the game more fun for my players when I adjust things on the fly sometimes, right? Keeping their fun and different things in mind. The key here, I think, is that if you're the type of dungeon master that like cultivates trust in your players and your players trust you, that I'm not just going to make the big bad have a bajillion hit points so you can't beat him and I kill you all, game over. Like, if that's what I'm going to do, well then yeah, but that's my problem. That's because I'm just being a jerk, right? So I would not do that. I don't think I'm that way. So anyway, how you fall on that subject topic is up to you, but that's one thing that I maybe sometimes do. All right, John, no more. I want to make sure I didn't miss something here. Oh, I did. Ben Machimity, thank you, sir, for the $1 super chat. Appreciate that. I don't see a question, so I'm guessing you're just throwing me a buck or two. Appreciate that, buddy. I answered that one. All right, cool. I think I'm caught up on the super chats. So another question here. John Servilis says, how can a relatively new Dungeon Master handle a high-level campaign, levels 13 plus, in terms of keeping the game challenging? So, two immediate thoughts on that one. The best way to do that, if at all possible, is to play the game from level 1 with the group, and as they slowly level, you're going to get a feel for things, and you're going to learn things as you go, and you're going to just have tricks that you get, that's going to help you answer that question for yourself. The second thing, and I'm probably not going to give you super good answers, honestly, because I have a couple things I could probably, give you. The other thing about high-level games is recognizing that at about 8th level, or especially by 13th level that you mentioned here, the challenge rating system and calculating the difficulty of encounters completely breaks down. You can no longer trust the math when you're calculating the challenge of a certain encounter. You really have to use more of your intuition, more of your gut. You have to use a knowledge of your player characters. You have to use a knowledge of your players. Some players are extremely good at tactical combat, and they're awesome at it. And so you're going to have to do much more as a dungeon master to challenge them. There are different things you can do. One thing off the top of my head is single monsters are almost always going to be unsatisfying. It's going to turn into a surround and pound, and it's going to go down really fast. It does. If you have a level 13s and you throw a CR 20 against them, I guarantee you, your level 13s will smash that creature up and toss her out. Okay, no challenge. They can just destroy her because it's one-on-one. Even when you start to get into legendary actions and stuff, that helps a little bit. Okay, definitely helps a little bit. But the best way to challenge characters is to have groups of enemies, okay? And you might have 4 frontline melee types, and then you have a couple archers in the back, and then you have a spellcaster. So you're not just using one type of monster, you're using 3 types of monsters, and they're using different tactics. The melees are engaging the player's characters head-on, the ranged archers are shooting the magic users in the back, and the spellcaster is doing other things. And so when you have various monsters with different tactics, doing different things, targeting different player characters, that combat becomes much more tactically interesting, first of all, and challenging for your players. Okay, another thing you can do is change the dynamics of the battle in the middle of the battle. So let's say that they're just doing X thing in the middle of the battle. They're fighting a group of monsters. Well, in round 3, reinforcements arrive. That's an easy solution. In round 3, an earthquake happens, and a massive fissure opens up in the middle of the battlefield, and flames start coming out, or a volcano erupts. I mean, I don't know, your imagination is the limit. So change the dynamics in the middle of the battle, right? Because they're going to settle into a rhythm. They're going to have a good idea of what this battle is all about and what our strategy is, and then you throw them a curveball and you change the dynamics of that battle. So those are some thoughts for you. I hope that's a little bit helpful. There's lots of stuff that could be talked about there. So we'll go for there. We'll go there for there. There's some English language mastery for you folks. Never Ending Nightmare says, question, I am dungeon mastering for the first time, and I have too many ideas for the game and can't focus on working on one long enough to get any prep done. Scrolly, you have any advice for me? Yes, I do. Let's pretend that you have 10 ideas. Choose a d10, roll it. I rolled an 8. Pick number 8. You gotta pick one, dude. You gotta pick one. Or pick a couple and merge them together, right? If you gotta pick it and you gotta stick with it. Make it, or, you know, you have a bunch of ideas, then have each one be part of the campaign. So maybe from levels 1 to 2, they're dealing with that idea, and then from the next levels they're dealing with something else, and the next ones are doing with this. And here's another thing. When I'm running a game, I don't just have one adventure arc. I have several adventure arcs going at the same time. So there might be the main adventure arc that is the big bad at the end of it. Well, there are character arcs going as well. There might be a little side quest that happens, or another little thing over here that happens. So some of all of your ideas there might turn into these little side quests and missions as well. So either you just pick one and roll with it, or you think of ways to creatively use more of those ideas so that you're kind of satisfying your own personal desire to use all these cool ideas. And I get you. Believe me, I get you. Like, I get most of my... When I make my own dungeons, I can't find it right now. There it is. Just reading this book, The Monster Manual, I get so many awesome ideas for adventures and stuff. And so I totally understand the idea, the desire to want to do a bajillion things because you have so many cool ideas. But ultimately, you got to pick one. If you got to roll a die and have that choose for you, then that's the way to do it. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna go down to the bottom of the chat right now and pick some questions down here because I've been going through the spreadsheet, which is awesome. But there are so many questions that I have not come anywhere close to answering. Oh, here's one from Michelle. No, that's Michael. Sorry. He's like, my name's Michael, not Michelle. Sorry. I'm a bad reader. What do you do to find new players? Game shop posters, subreddit, the LFG subreddit. That's it. That's how I get most of my players. Game shop posters are awesome. I just hang up posters at game shops, and I have people emailing me like that wanting to be in a game. So that's how I do it. What do we got going on here? Yeah. That's the second time I've answered that question in the chat on the live stream tonight. So Kribu has a question. My voice is starting to die too. So this live stream is not destined to last a whole lot longer because I can now feel that I'm having trouble talking. And talking is not my forte to begin with. So, yeah, when I start stumbling over words and like hacking and coughing, that is the beginning of the end for the stream, shall we say. I have 9 players in my game. How do I determine what is too much to throw at them when I'm trying to make sure everyone has a turn? Dang, dude. 9 players is going to be rough because everybody's going to be waiting so long in between their turns. I mean, by throw at them, you mean like monsters or stuff like that? Like, I don't know. I mean, as a general rule, if you have the same number of combatants as players, that's usually a general rule for a combat, but with 9 players, that could get really hard too. You might want to try to just have maybe 4 monsters in an encounter, you know, 4 tougher ones so that the monsters aren't taking as much time on their rounds. You're not asking this question, but I would almost break that group into 2. I'd have one group with 4 players and one group with 5 players, and that is going to be a lot more fun for the players, a lot more work for you because you got to run 2 groups. But that is probably going to result in the most fun for everybody. Maybe, unless you're all like a big group of friends and you all want to play together. I don't know. Just some off-the-cuff thoughts. That wasn't even your question, so ignore me. I'm answering the wrong questions. All right. Looking for questions. Okay, Philip says, how would you handle a player that doesn't want to make a backstory? Do I need to show you my axe again? No, whatever. Who cares? I don't care about backstory. You know what? Whatever. La-di-da. As a dungeon master, I could care less if you have a backstory or if you don't. A backstory is not for my benefit. A backstory is for the player's benefit. That is for you to help inform how you roleplay your character. So, and if you don't have one, then that's not like, I'm not going to lose sleep over that. You know what I mean? Now, I usually take my players' backstories, and I make cool things out of them. I incorporate elements from them into my games. You might get your own little adventure based on your backstory. That's my way of honoring the fact that you created a backstory, right? And that you thought through that type of thing. But if you don't want to make one, then I'm not going to hold it against you. That's not everybody's jam. Not everybody cares about a backstory. And I'll be honest with you, when I play in games, I a lot of times don't make a backstory either, because it doesn't drive me, you know. It doesn't matter a whole lot to me, you know, my backstory. So I probably have a little bit of a bias. Everybody has a bias on any question about Dungeons and Dragons. I don't think it's a huge deal. I am sure that there are many folks who think it is a big deal, and their opinion is just as legitimate as my opinion. That's just my thoughts on it. But players who do make backstories, I usually do special things with them to reward them for having put in the effort of making a backstory. So there's that answer for you. And that's probably not going to be a satisfying answer for some people. Some people are like, I gotta have a backstory. What kind of a dungeon master are you? All right. Looking for questions. Now I'm just scrolling. I love the spreadsheet, by the way, but I just wanted to pick some out of down toward the bottom of the recent questions, because I'm like way behind in questions. How many magic items are quote unquote too many? I'm running a homebrew game that's harder than most, but I sprinkle in magic items here and there to balance it out. That's like an individual, like, game by game, campaign by game question, I think, Ethan. The way I do magic items is I just roll on the random tables in the Dungeon Master Guide. That's all I do. Random tables, Dungeon Master Guide. And if you get a magic item, you get a magic item. And if their luck is pretty crappy, then I just put a magic item in there every so often, you know. So I'm kind of loose with it. I generally just go by the random tables. I think those handle it. So far, for me and my games, the random tables and the Dungeon Master Guide have done pretty well, and I have not felt that anything was unbalanced because of them. You know, that said, I probably sprinkle in an extra magic item here or there that the tables did not call for, because sometimes I'm just in a generous mood and I'm just like, here, have a magic item. I would definitely err on the side of giving out fewer rather than more magic items. You can always, if you get to a point in your game where there aren't enough magic items and your players are like, this sucks, dude, we're level 13 and we have one magic item each. What's going on, Dungeon Master? You can always give them more. But if you give them too many magic items, then you're in a problem, because they're not going to like it if you take them away from them, right? It's easier to give them more, and it is not fun. It's not a good situation to want to take them away, because players are not going to appreciate that. Once they get them, they're going to want to keep them. So I'd give out fewer rather than more. And that is probably not a super practical answer. It's basically just use your own intuition and gut and figure out what you think is the best amount for your game. I think that's the best I can give you. Sorry. I wish I had a magic number. Hold on a second. 9. That's your answer. It's like, his advice sucks. I'm out of here. 4 Elemental, what's going on, dude? How you doing, buddy? His question is, how does it feel for your channel to explode in subscribers? It's actually cool. I was super excited, like, legitimately. Like, it was a couple of weeks ago when a couple of my videos started getting promoted out across YouTube, and like things just started to rocket, and I was like, holy crap. I was out in my lawn. I was doing some yard work. I was like, what was I doing? I think I was like, I wasn't mowing. I was working. Oh, I was splitting wood. I was out splitting wood every so often, just checking my YouTube stuff on my phone. And then I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And the views were, I was like, woo! I was excited. Basically, I was excited. So, and it's awesome having like lots of folks here too. This is lots of, I have actually always answered all of the questions that have been asked in the live stream. And tonight is going to be, it looks like the first time that I won't be able to answer all the questions, because Dude, legitimately, I'm looking at the spreadsheet. I've gotten 126 questions tonight. So, like, I'm going to do my best here, folks. But, yeah, it's good. I appreciate all of you folks for signing up for my banter and craziness and, like, my weird faces and animations and stuff. I get comments, people are, like, telling me, like, what's wrong with his face? Like, why does he make all those expressions with his face? And I'm just like, dude, it's my face. Ah. I don't care. You can make fun of my face. Just don't make fun of my hair, right? My hair is very fragile, whatever. Actually, my barber screwed my hair up. Like, I was going to this dude, he was cutting my hair, and like he totally screwed it up last time, and I'm not satisfied with it, so I will not be going back to him. That's a fun fact. I'm sure you're all like, that made my Friday night. Thank you for sharing that with me. All right, another question. Let me scour, make sure I didn't get a super chat that I missed. Doesn't look like it. All right, cool. Holy crap. So Subcycle says we have 98 unanswered questions. Wow. That's crazy. Let's work on this. Let's work on the questions. I answered a question from you once, and I want to spread the love. I want to make sure I'm answering questions from people have not answered. Okay, here's one. Mexmen75. I have it. Okay. Says, what's the best way to have a reoccurring villain that fights the party and before he gets killed ports away? I want someone hard to fight that's not too broken. Well, here's the thing. Good luck. Good luck on getting your villain away, because I try a lot of times to get my villains away, and my players catch them and usually slaughter them ruthlessly. So good luck on being able to get your villain to get away, because that is something I've very rarely been able to do. And have it feel like it wasn't like the DM just totally playing God and the villain gets away and there was nothing the players could do about it. And that might feel a little cheap to your players. But if you want to do that, then you can do things like the villain is using some sort of magic to, make him appear to be there. It's some sort of like illusion or something where he can talk with them and whatnot, but he's not actually there. Kind of like the how in Star Wars the Empire will project himself into a location when he speaks, but he's not actually there, and he can actually like do things across distances. Sometimes Darth Vader would force choke people over the hologram communication system or whatever, So you could do little tricks like that. You gotta be creative. You're gonna have to be creative, because at least my players are really good at preventing villains from getting away. So I don't think I have super good advice to you, because that is something that I struggle with too. I mean, you could just boom, he's gone, but then it feels cheap, and the players kind of feel like, oh, he's got plot armor. The villain had plot armor, and Luke just made him get away. That's not fair. I don't want my players to feel that way. So I try to legitimately have them get away, like using legitimate means, and usually I fail. So I don't think I have good advice for you, because I don't do well in that myself. All right, another question. We're going to go to Brothermen. Question, I am the fighter for the group. How can I make my character unique? I don't know. Make unique stuff about him. One of the things that I like to do when I'm making a character is, how there are the personality traits, the bonds, the flaws, and stuff like that. I roll those things randomly, okay? And then I stick to it, and I try to roleplay that. And I usually try to pick something that's a little bit exaggerated, okay? I exaggerate something. Like, I don't know, whatever it is, he has a flaw. He is like, I don't know, he drinks too much or something. That's a bad example, but maybe it's a bad example. But pick something to exaggerate a little bit, to give him a little bit more personality and stuff like that. I think I would try to do something like that. That's an idea for you. If you do voices and stuff, and you can come up with a unique voice, then you are off out of the gate. You are unique. You have solved the problem of uniqueness. Just because that when you talk in character, you're talking with a voice, a voice, you know. So that'll get it solved for you right away. And like I'm jumping all over the spreadsheet subcycle. That was number 39. I'm going to number 60, which is from Wrath. He says, I want to surprise my players with a dragon that's secretly a human with shape change. Should their stats be the same or different depending on which form they're in? I don't know. I think usually 5th edition rules, when you're shape changing, you get the stats of the form you're actually in. Like when a druid shape changes, or you use like a polymorph spell, or even when like werewolves and stuff shape change, you get the stats of the form that you assume. Now, a lot of times you preserve the mental stats, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Your physical stats, strength, dexterity, and constitution will change for your new form. So an argument could be made that you would have the stats of your new form. An argument could also be made that a dragon is a super powerful creature and can maintain some of the stats of his dragon form while he's shape changed into a human. Maybe like being able to cast spells or breathing even his breath weapon. Maybe. I think that is up to you as a dungeon master to decide how you want to implement that, because there are no rules necessarily on how to do that. And I could see it going either way. And I think both would be completely justified. So I would pick one that you like. Like, most of my advice is just like, I don't know, just do something that seems cool. Well, there's some rationale behind it and some reasoning, so there we go. Forelemental said, will you do a 10,000 subscriber special like when you did your 1,000 subscriber special? Yes, I will be doing a special video within the next few weeks for y'all. And as a tease, as a special tease, I will be telling the story of Chief Chin. Chief Chin. You will all hear the story of Chief Chin in my 10,000 subs special. So there you go, a little tease for you. It's a great story, I promise you. And in case you're wondering where that came from, when I did my Don't Taunt the DM video, I think it was, I was constantly mispronouncing chieftain and saying Chief Chin, right? And so lots of people were commenting about how I mispronounced that. And they're right. But now I'm going to tell you why I'm right. And it's actually Chief Chin. So there you go. I hope that'll be fun. That'll be lots of fun for me to make that video. So I'm looking for that. I'm on number 87. Poop Dude asked this question. Oh, that was awesome. That was a good pun right there. He's going to DM for the first time soon. He was wondering how close you need to follow CR for encounters for 3.5. I DM'd 3.5 a long time ago, and I will not pretend to remember the rules for it, nor how well it did in like the CR. I will tell you though that my from people that play 3.5 right now, it's grossly unbalanced. Like the game, and depending upon like the classes and the combinations and stuff that you choose. So I would wager a guess that the CR system is probably not going to be super helpful. Just my gut. I have zero like experience or like actual knowledge to tell you that, but based on what I've heard other people say, that's my guess. So that's the best I can do. So Subcycle says you should answer the questions I highlighted in blue. Thank you, Subcycle. I was wondering why those were in blue. All right, Rachel Stevenson says, what's something you do that you think other DMs don't do? That's interesting. I am sure that everything that I do, there's some DM somewhere, or many of them, that do the same thing. What do I do that other DMs don't do? I can tell you that one unique thing that I do is I have an on-call system for players. I have a group of players that are on call. My games are full right now. I do have one spot that I'm trying to fill. And I have a group of on-call players. When a normal player is gone, I will reach out to my on-call players and I'll say, hey guys, I have a spot for this weekend. Do you want to play? One of them's like, yes, I'll play. He comes with his own character and he plays in my game. And so that accomplishes lots of good things. It makes sure that I always have a full roster of players at the table to keep running the adventure, right? It also helps me to let other people play in my games, even though I can't run another campaign. I can let people come in and play. And the biggest advantage of this is that everybody has players that leave their games from time to time. Real life happens, things come up, people lose interest, it happens. And so when I have these on calls and one of my regular players leaves the game and I have an opening, I have a handful of players that have played in my games before. I know them. I know that they're not like psychos or whatever. And then my regular players and I can say, hey guys, of the on-calls that have played for us, who do you think would be the best fit for this group to fill this absence that we have? And then we can pull somebody into the group that we've all played with before and that we know would make a good fit for the group without having to take a risk on like somebody that we don't know. Invite them to the group and then be like, we don't like that person. That's not going to work, because not everybody's a good fit for every group, That said, there have been very, very few people that like I would say would not work in my groups. I'm pretty welcoming to a wide variety of people, eccentric people to like just like average Joe people, whatever. But sometimes people just don't work. So anyway, that's something that I do that I don't know how many people do that. I have never heard of a dungeon master doing that before. That said, I'm pretty sure that there are other dungeon masters that do something like that. Because I'm not special. I'm just a dude with a big mouth who makes videos. That's a good question. Kyle Graham says, do you follow any other D&D YouTubers? I love Matt Colville. That dude's the bomb. I love his crap. I don't agree with everything he says, but I agree with a lot of it, like 90% of it. And I love it. He's just good. He's got so much good information in his brain. And information that I don't have a lot of it. And so I can learn a lot from him. He also delivers his content very well. He's easy to listen to, so that's cool. Yeah, I like that dude. He's cool. Cool. I keep an eye on other people in the D&D sphere, but like I'm really busy. I don't have time to watch videos. Most of the videos that I do watch, I actually listen to while I'm driving or while I'm getting ready for work in the morning, and they're not about D&D. I don't actually listen to too many videos or anything about Dungeons and Dragons. Most of the stuff I listen to is like you'd probably call it self-help, but it's like stuff about how to be successful in life, how to grow a business, how to do this, that, or the other. They're all practical things that are going to help me like in other areas of my life, if that makes sense. So I listen to a lot of people on YouTube that are just talking about how to run a YouTube channel and crap like that. So I don't listen to or I don't watch a lot of D&D videos, in all honesty. I just don't have time for it. But when I do watch them, it's Matt Colville. So there you go. Deck of Many Things is a campaign killer. He didn't have question before that, so I do not have to talk about that in this stream. That is my DM cop-out. All right, blue questions. Okay, all right, Subcycle, blue questions. Gotcha. He says, how would you handle a player that you personally like, but the character is causing discord in the group? I talk to him. There you go. I say, player, what up, dude? Like, we're cool. I like you. We're tight. But the character you're playing is causing problems. These are the problems that I see that he's causing. What can we do about it? What do you think we can do? And I want suggestions from the player. I want the player ideally to come up with a solution so that he has ownership and he has buy-in on his solution. And then we roll with it. So that's how I would, and it's a conversation, and who knows how that'll turn out, but that's how I would handle it. All right, we're at 10:30. We're going to be wrapping up in a little bit here. For sure by 11 o'clock we're done, and we're going to call it. Lots of questions. I'll get to some of these. If you are just joining us and you have not entered the giveaway yet, the time is clicking down. You are able to win some of these beautiful tokens right here from Tactical Tokens. And if you want to enter the giveaway and you have not entered the giveaway yet, there's a link down in the description to it. You can sign that bad boy up. The secret word is the DM Smiles. That you need to enter that to be eligible for the giveaway. So if you haven't done that yet, do that, because at the end of the stream, we will be drawing the winner. All right, Philip. We don't need a countdown, buddy. All right. Another question. We're looking for blue questions. Blue questions. I'm scrolling for blue. Here we go. Ajmez? I can't pronounce that, sorry. What are some things about D&D's combat system, particularly the lack of utility options for martial combatants that you don't like? Yeah, what I don't like about it? I actually like D&D 5th Edition's combat system. I think that it's nice and streamlined. It doesn't bog things down. Look at 3.5's grapple rules. 3.5 grapple rules are like this long. It's like a book. You got to read that thing, okay? Now, it's realistic, you could argue, and is a realistic way to handle a grappling situation. But you got to read that thing and then resolve it at the game table. So I like 5th Edition's combat system. Now, the lack of utility options, you can grapple, you can shove, you can disarm, so there are some things you can do to really good effect. There aren't tons of things. So if you feel that that's something that's lacking in the game, then by all means, feel free to house rule and work things out. I personally am okay with it, but I'm always open to suggestions from my players if they think that something would make sense and would be fun. I'm always open to that sort of thing. So that's my thoughts on that. Joseph says, how can I get into D&D? In my opinion, the probably the easiest way to get into Dungeons & Dragons is to go to local game shops and see if they have Adventurers League. Adventurers League are pickup games that basically there's a dungeon master, and then whoever shows up gets to play D&D. I think that's probably the easiest and fastest way to jump into D&D and learn the ropes of that. Just show up and be like, new player, never played before, please help me. I'd love help to learn how to play. And if you don't have some sort of jerk that's a dungeon master, he's gonna be helping you out. So that's how I do that. Lemon Squeeze says, this might be banned subject, but I have a transgender player NPC and a gay PC in my campaigns. Any tips? I treat him like a normal person. That's my tip. I don't think that anything special is needed, is it? Just like, whatever you identify as, cool. You're a person, I'm a person, we're human beings. Let's just treat each other with respect and dignity, and there we go. That's all we got to do. So I don't think anything special is needed. Just love, respect, and equal treatment, I think, is how I would do that. I hope that's an okay answer. That's how I would do it. I see everybody as equals, and then we rock and roll and we play D&D. All right, there we go. Joseph Stephen Haven says, I am bad at describing things. Any tips on getting better at it? Describe more things. He's like, Luke, your advice sucks. Practice is it. But that said, read books. Like, literally, reading books. What do you want to call it? Robert Jordan books. He's good at description. George R.R. Martin books. Not watching TV shows, but reading books could get you good at description. The reason I'm fairly good at describing things, and there are two reasons I'm good at describing things. One, I have a big mouth, right? I just talk. The other reason I'm good at describing things is I visualize things in my head. Like, When they're entering a cavern, I instantly see stalactites and stalagmites. I see bones over the floor. I see rats scurrying across it. I see bats that are spooked by the torchlight and start flying past you. And I see this, like, these bones are kind of moving over in the corner. So immediately when I start thinking of a cavern, I'm visualizing all of these things in my brain. And I'm seeing it in my mind's eye, and then I'm describing what I see. It's not flowery language. It's very simple, very to the point, but also very descriptive, okay? And that's what I do. I think you can practice at that. Use action words. Use verbs that describe actions. There are rats scurrying, okay? Stalactites are hanging. Bones are shifting, okay? These are things that are describing actions, right? And also, big important thing, when you're describing a scene, be brief. Don't take too long describing everything. Sometimes modules will have these read aloud portions that are like super long. No, your players are not going to listen to all those details. You get into like sentence 3 and they're pulling out their phones. Okay? Keep your descriptions brief but interesting. And then let your players seek out additional information. I go over to the bones and I examine them. I want to see if I can determine what kind of bones they are. Okay, roll a medicine check. Oh, an 18? All right, they're human bones. Some of them are halflings as well, and you notice a kobold skull. So give a brief description to set the scene, and then as your players interact with it, then you describe things in more detail. Describe the things that they're interested in. If you describe everything in one big bang, they're going to get bored and they're going to stop paying attention. So, I hope that helps. It's like stream of consciousness. I answered a question he didn't even ask, I think. All right, another blue text here. 15 minutes left in the stream, ladies and gentlemen. For someone who wants to Dungeon Master, how do you get your players more invested into the game, not just playing stats on a sheet? I think you got to make the game interesting. The more interesting you can make the game, the more story and things happening, the more mysteries, the more intriguing things, the more weird stuff that they're like, wait a second, how does that NPC know about that magic item that we picked up? How is that person, the more little tiny tidbits of information, these little things that you sprinkle in there, right, that makes their brains think, and they're like, what the heck? And that makes them engage with the game. I think that's going to make them more invested in the game as well. Also, if you know what their likes are as players and you're trying to sprinkle the things they like into their game, that'll get them more invested. If you take things from their backstory and possibly incorporate them into the game as well, that'll make them more invested, right? It makes them more excited. Like, oh, this has to do with me. Then it becomes personal to them. So that's another way I think you can make them invested as well. So some quick ideas there. So Superstar says, what are 3 big no-nos for new DMs? All right, 3 big no-nos. 1, taking away player agency. Okay, you're the Dungeon Master. You control what the enemies do. You control what everybody in the world does. You control the world. You control the natural events in the world. You control the deities in the world. You control everything in the stinking world. Don't control your players' characters. Let them control their characters. Don't take their agency away from them. Okay? That is big, huge no-no in my opinion. So definitely that. Let them play their characters. They showed up to play their characters. Let them. You control everything else. Don't be greedy. Okay? That's one of them. Another big no-no for Dungeon Masters. Having a DM versus player mentality, having this aggressive thing where it's like me versus you, and we're going to duke it out and see who wins. Oh, and by the way, I'm the Dungeon Master, so I always win. That's lame. So that type of like dungeon mastering. Now, there's a big difference. There is a big difference between that sort of DM versus player mentality and running a challenging game. Okay, that your players feel challenged, and then when they overcome those challenges, they feel all the better for it because we won against impossible odds. Holy crap, we're awesome. We feel good. There's a big difference. You can run a challenging game where you're not having a DM versus player mentality. I don't know if I'm adequately describing the distinction between the two, but it is possible. So that's number 2. Number 3 thing that I would say no as a dungeon master not to do, and by the way, these are my opinions, right? These are my opinions. You're welcome to disagree with me and respect. I don't know. I think that it's not a no, but I would strongly suggest that you try to say no as seldomly as possible and only when it makes sense to do so. Some of my biggest regrets as a dungeon master are when I told my players no. Now, there is a time and a place for no, okay? But as much as possible, try to say yes, or yes and, or yes but. As much as possible, work with your players, okay? And try not to be the roadblock. Try to be the enabler that helps them to play the game that they want to play, to have their player be, or have their character be the character they want to be. So that's not like a no. I've definitely said no before. There's a time and a place for no. But as much as possible, try to say yes. If you're always the one saying no, players are like, dude, every time I want to do something cool, my dungeon master is like, no. And that gets old, right? So try to work with your players. I think that's what I got. All right. So Philip says, would a campaign about a deck of many things work? Absolutely could work. The thing is that when a lot of times you could have X campaign, when you introduce the deck of many things, your campaign almost always becomes about the deck of many things. Our character's soul got stolen. Well, guess what? Now we're all going to go try to rescue her soul. The campaign is no longer about this, it's about this, right? And so there's a strong possibility that introducing the deck of many things will, by default, make the campaign about the deck of many things. This is why the deck of many things is called a campaign killer. It didn't necessarily kill all of your players, but instead of your campaign being about that, it is now about that. So anyway, it definitely can work, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, you just need to understand the implications of using it, I think. All right, 10 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen, and we're drawing the winner for our giveaway. And the stream will end until 2 weeks from now, because we do live streams every 2 weeks. And by the way, I think we had tons of questions tonight. We might just do more Q&A next time we do a live stream, because there were so many questions that we could just keep answering questions. But I also like to create things during our live streams as well. We've done lots of live streams where we create adventures. We've done live streams where we create encounters. We have done a trap creation live stream before. We might do some live streams where we create NPCs together. And the reason I like creating these things is it helps dungeon masters see, first of all, how I do it, because that might be useful for you, especially if you're a new dungeon master, to see how somebody else creates an adventure, an NPC, a trap, and help guide you through that process, sort of a tutorial. But it's also lots of fun, and we come up with lots of good ideas, and then I always publish them after the fact. Like some of the adventures that I have out there for you guys over on my site, thedmlair.com, some of those free adventures are from us here on this stream creating them. We created Trouble in Round Hill together. We created, what did we create last time? What do we call that? The Beholden Temple. So there's a link right there to thedmlair.com where you can get tons of free adventures. And the Beholden Temple and Trouble in Round Hill are adventures that we created right here on the stream together. So I like creating things together. So it's possible next time, if there's like high desire, I'm going to do what you guys want to do, right? Like this channel is all about you guys and helping you guys with dungeon mastering stuff. And so if the question and answer is like, boom, let's do it, then let's do it. If we want to create some stuff, then let's create some stuff. So what we do on the stream, I think, is going to be dictated by what you folks find most valuable to you. And you're giving up a Friday night, so let's give you something that's fun and valuable. So thank you, Subcycle, for the link down below in the chat to the DMLair.com. Boom. All right, let's hit some questions. By the way, folks, if you haven't joined us on Discord, there is a link to our Discord down in the channel down below. Check us out on Discord. So my goal with our Discord channel is a community of dungeon masters committed to helping each other out, advice, stuff like that, because I can only do so much. I'm one dude with one set of opinions, but like everybody helping everybody out, we're going to grow and become that much better faster, right? So that's what the Discord is all about. It is Dungeon Masters helping each other out. New veterans, whatever, everybody's welcome. All right, I'm looking for more questions. Any blue questions? No blue questions. Here we go. I'm going to roll a D100, and that is the question I'm going to answer. We're going to make this random. Woo! I'm on number 47. Number 47. All right. Young engineer. How do I motivate my players to research their own character's abilities outside of game sessions? They wait till we are playing to try to figure them out. I would reward them. I think I would choose to try to use a carrot instead of a stick. Certainly don't punish them if they don't know their character's abilities. I would reward them when they do know their abilities. I'm not sure how. I'm just kind of thinking this through. And here's the thing. I have a wide variety of players in my games. Some of my players are like hardcore into D&D and know the rules perhaps better than I do. And there are other players that are just there for the social fun of it. I have a player, an awesome player. I love her contributions to the game. She's still a little shaky on the rules, and she's been playing with us for over a year now. I am totally fine with that. I don't judge her for that. She is there hanging out and having fun, and so we help her, right, with the rules and with, when she has to attack things, and that's totally cool. So I'm not going to, like, get down on people who don't, like, learn the rules and stuff, but I might, if I wanted to get people to know the rules, I might encourage them with rewards somehow, It might be inspiration or something. I'm not sure what it would be. I really don't know. I would choose to motivate them by rewarding them somehow. I would definitely not punish them or make them feel bad about not knowing it, because people have different motivations for playing the game, and not everybody is going to necessarily know everything. That said, I am pretty strict about, during combat, making decisions quickly and then keeping my combats moving fast. So if you don't know how your own abilities work, I'm probably going to help you a little bit, and I won't mind if other players help you. But it's a possibility that you're going to feel a little bit of pressure in combat because I'm pressuring you for an answer and you're not sure what to do because you don't know your abilities. So there's a balance there, but anyway. All right, let's do this again. Oh, Huber says, how old is the cat? So my cats are probably about 5 years old, maybe something like that. I don't know how old the mommy cat is. We call her Mommy, actually. Her name is Mommy. Her name is literally Mommy. All of our cats are strays that we took in, by the way. I have too many cats, but we love them all. We took in a family of strays, and I don't know how old she is. She could be 10 years old. She's probably getting up there. All right, next question. 94. TW300 says, how do you know if Homebrew is overpowered or underpowered? I compare it. I compare it with things that are in the player handbook. So if it's a Homebrew race, if it's a Homebrew class, if it's a Homebrew archetype, I compare it with other things that are already in the game. So if you have a Homebrew for a Warforged, let's say, I'm going to compare that with dwarves and half-elves and humans. And I'm going to see roughly if your Homebrew Warforged is roughly more or less in the same balance. Does it have the same number of, like, if your Homebrew Warforged gets plus 10 to Constitution and none of the other races get that big of a bonus, then no, sorry, that's not balanced. I do a comparison game, 100% all the way. I compare a Homebrew to things that I already know about to try to feel out that if it's balanced with what's already established. That's how I do it. It's a comparison every time. There's no short answer for that. But that's not that hard of an answer, because you can compare things pretty quickly and come to a determination. In my opinion, in my experience. Oh, here's a blue question. Oh, I don't know the answer to that one. I don't know the answer. Okay, I'll read the question, and I feel bad, but I don't really have a good answer, I think. I don't know everything. I'll be the first to admit that I don't know everything. So here you go. He says, how would you run a psychological warfare for an illusionist specialist using their illusions to attack the hope and morale of their enemies? Manifestations of their opponent's fears. I mean, if they're casting spells, I would just use the rules in the spells. Like, how do the spells play out at the game table? And then I just use the rules, I think. That said, illusion spells in 5th edition are not super satisfying. They're kind of lame. So you might need to do a little bit more there. You might need to, go beyond the rules if you really want to make that more interesting. I don't know that I have really good examples for you. I'm sorry, it's late at night. I'm tired. All right, we have 3 minutes left. I think we're going to pull our giveaway winner. We are pulling our winner. All right, I'm sorry, folks. You have so many questions, and I only have so much time. We will be doing this again. I promise you. So if I didn't get to your question, then we can totally do this again next time. And I have an entire spreadsheet of questions to answer. Oh, you know what? I promised a dude that I'd answer his question, and I did not answer it. So I need to get to that. He emailed me. Actually, it's Phandelver from my Discord server. So I definitely want to answer his question. So he said that he has a paladin that is always stealing the spotlight, making the game all about him. He wants to take the game away from the story that the DM has created and the other players are fine with, and he instead wants to do stuff that he wants. And he wants to know how to deal with that sort of player. So I think this goes back to what I was talking about at my session zeros. I tell my players, that you need to design a character that wants to go on the overall mission of this adventure that we're going on. He needs to be part of the team. He needs to be on board with what the team is doing. And that is your responsibility as a player to design a character that wants to do that. Okay? I put that squarely on my player's shoulders. And if he doesn't do that, I hold him accountable. And I'm like, no, dude, we all decided that this is what we're doing. This is the game we're playing. If it's a module or something, and so, and everybody else, all the other players are cool with it and want to run it. You're the only one that wants to go do something else. So like, you got a couple options here, man. I'm not running a game for them and then a separate game for you just because you want to do your own thing. Okay. You can either decide to play the game with everybody else, or you can roll a new character who is properly motivated to go with everybody else. But the lone wolf syndrome, I just don't tolerate that because I run a group cooperative game, where for the most part everybody kind of sticks together, and I'm not going to run 5 different games because everybody just decides they want to go do their own thing. This is part of the premise of my games, that we run a cooperative group game where everybody kind of sticks together and does one thing, and I don't have people going off and doing other things. And if the player is constantly trying to derail what you're doing, then that's a conversation. That's probably a one-on-one conversation with that player saying, dude, everybody else is cool with doing this and you don't want to do it. Respect, but this is the game we're running, so what are you going to do, man? You want to play with us? Do you want to roll up a new character who wants to run this adventure, or what it is? Now, the second part to this is, and that's a difficult situation, that's a rough spot in whatever. The second part of this question is, he's a paladin of vengeance against an entire race. So when he plays this out, it causes issue at the game. So let's say that I'm a paladin of vengeance against all dwarves everywhere. And so every time I see a dwarf, I'm trying to kill dwarfs, right? And that obviously will cause problems in the game. And when the dungeon master is like, dude, what's up? Why are you killing all the dwarves? The player's response is, it's what my character would do. All right. It's what my character would do is just a lame response. It is a smokescreen, okay? It's a justification, and it's bullcrap, in my opinion, okay? Because who created that character? Who is deciding what that character's motivations are and what he would do? Who is running that character? Who is deciding what that character does? You, the player. Okay? You're the one that created a character that wants to kill all the dwarves in the world. You're the one that created a character that does X that might cause a problem at the game. So it's what my character would do is just, it's a wing rod defense, as Matt Colville would say. And is just like, no, I'm sorry, I don't accept that. Right? You made your character. You are responsible for what your character does. That's a smokescreen, and I cut right to the chase, and I go right to the heart of the matter. So I would just have a conversation with him and try to resolve things and see if he is willing to make a character that would play along with folks and be There you go. That's my answer. Sorry. It petered out a little bit. It didn't have that punch I was looking for, but I'm tired and it's late, so that's what you get. Sorry, buddy. All right. Giveaway winner. Giveaway winner time. We're pulling the winner for the giveaway. We need a drum roll. We need a drum roll, ladies and gentlemen. Drums. Are there drum emojis? Do we have drum emojis that we can throw down in the chat to like get up the suspense for us? And I'm going to find the site for the giveaway. Stand by, ladies and gentlemen. I have to find it. I was not prepared. I did not prepare for this game session. Where the heck is it? There it is. I found it. There they are. There they are. There they are. How to D&D says, love what you're doing, Luke. Thanks, man. Props. Appreciate it. And this is what we're doing. We're doing the giveaway right here. This is what we're giving away. And I'm going into the giveaway right now. And I'm looking at it. It looks like, and I'm going to show you my screen. We're not hiding anything. There's nothing to be hidden. This is the giveaway right here. And I need some coffee. I'm going to tease this out. I'm going to make this painful. Painful. Who's going to win? We want our tokens. I have to draw a winner. We had 486 entries and I had no entries. I don't have a chance of winning. I want some tokens too. All right, let's go to the winners. We're going to draw our winners. So, here we go. You guys ready? I'm going to click this button. Clicking this button. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you guys. I'm just joking. I'm just messing with you. Here we go. We're clicking it. Draw winners. One winner to draw. All right, here we go. Here we go. Boom. Who we got? Who we got? Who we got? Here we go. Look at this. Caleb Brossenfeld. Caleb Brossenfeld. You are the winner. He is in the U.S. Awesome. In the U.S. So, dude, what up? You win. Are you here with us? Caleb, are you in this stream? Caleb, are you here? Hold on a second. Actually, I have to verify. Wait a second. Where's the secret word? I don't know if he entered the secret word. What's the secret word? Oh, he did. He did. Okay, awesome. He did enter the secret word. Excellent. Stand by. Stand by. All right, Caleb entered the secret word. You don't have to be here to win. So, yeah, sorry. Don't do that. Congratulations, Caleb. You are the winner. I will be sending an email out to Caleb. And all you got to do is respond to me, buddy, and tell me where you want your tokens shipped. And I will get your tokens shipped out to you. So there you go. Congratulations, buddy. Appreciate it. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the stream today. This has been lots of fun. We will be here again in 2 weeks. We might be creating something. We might be doing more questions. We shall see how things go. So until next time, let's play D&D. That's like my thing. Let's play D&D. I'm going to stop streaming now. Thanks for joining me. Have fun. Enjoy your evening. Have a good weekend. Stop streaming. Bye.